Their own Haitians taunt Kenyan police over crackdown. City, The Star, and the China Daily.
China Daily is such fun. The China Daily.
It's a huge paper. You have to stand up to read it.
You have to stand up so you can hold it.
It's on the side. Here. Okay, let's have a look at it. China Daily.
Grief.
Right. Team China hailed worldwide for victories, morale. Cambodia still benefits. The president of China is called Xi, but I'm sure it's not. See, it's pronounced differently.
He is called Xi.
He is called Xi's, okay. Xi's visit. She visited Cambodia in 2016, and relations soared. Things changed in Cambodia, and they keep changing for the better. All right? Hollywood's glory fades due to U.S. prejudice. This is a story that tells you, it's about movies really, that Chinese movies are on the rise. And they're saying, if you look at box office non-hits of movies like Black Widow, that movie is tough. I don't know what they're talking about. Okay? There's one called Shang-Chi, okay-ish movie. The Legend of the Ten Rings. This is a nice movie. Okay? Eternals and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is really nice. The guy just waves his hand and things happen.
You actually watch these things?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just like doing a thing.
Oh, no. I watch all manner of movies.
Even these ones for...
Yes.
Doctor Strange.
Yes, Doctor Strange is lovely. As I said, he just waves his hand like
they
this.
speak in sync, or you just want to see somebody's mouth moving? Then you hear the sound later.
No. It's not on these movies where someone says, I will kill my neighbor, and then the mouth still moves. No, none of those ones. They are called what? Voiceovers. Well, the story here is trying to depict that some of these movies haven't been the box office hits they were supposed to be, and yet Chinese movies and the box office hits are on the rise. If a movie is made in China and the Chinese watch it, it will be a box office hit.
Because only about 2 billion people watching it, so
Yes,
I mean, what do you
exactly.
expect?
Even if just a quarter, that's how 500 million people watching the movie. It's box office, whether you like it or not. Now, there's something strange here. Candy, part of the festival. Wedding candy, matrimonial traditions. And they're saying that candy shop owners are beginning to see a decline because of the health matters related to sugar intake. Okay?
Right.
So there's a decline. How long the decline will last, I do not know, but that's what they're saying. But of interest, there's something happening in Greece. Fire everywhere.
Allah.
Yes, huge fires. People are being vacated. People are having to move. People are moving.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, yes. North of Athens. The village is called Varnava in Greece. It is a massive fire. The neighbors have decided to help. Neighbors of Greece have come in to help because that fire could spread to their own countries.
Why?
Yeah, that is China
That's a China
Today.
Daily.
Now, you said Star.
Yeah.
All right. Top right-hand corner. But you should look at the headline in the People. That headline is
They've just done it.
tantalizing.
The government in Ruto's road.
Corner in what?
Top corner in blue. Oh, till blue. Sorry.
What color is
Wearing
that?
it too.
No, Eric.
Today I'm wearing the top right-hand corner.
It is. Same color.
It's same color.
It's the same color. But you see, this lady is confusing me. I'm about to read top right-hand corner. Then she does.
points.
I also look.
Top right hand corner. Hindu.
Okay, let me read the paper. Development agenda. Ruto heads to Kisii after whirlwind tour of Mount Kenya. Okay, these things wait. Is it? No. This is yesterday's paper. Sorry. Today's paper.
You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. That was yesterday's
After
paper.
all that, okay.
Today's paper is free.
Today is free. Top right hand corner.
Still
in
Free
green.
copy.
No, this is till greenish.
That's something.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. But anyway, arrest. 1.5 bail won't cow me to ditch activism. Okay? This is a story of somebody who has decided she stood up against powerful organizations and she's really going to stand strength of a woman. Why Kalonzo is trapped between rock and hard place. So Kalonzo has a choice. He can go to rock, he can go to hard place. Okay? Healthier choices. Food in supermarkets could soon have exam-style grades. Meaning, yes, food in supermarkets. What if food in Kenya supermarkets carry KCSE grade labels? For the best, grade E. The worst, sounds fanciful, and so forth, and so forth. Story for another day. Kingpin, bang in the middle of the paper. Central MPs slowly embracing Gachagua as Ruto 2027 campaign plan begins to shift. Okay, operative word is slowly. Ruto, Raila packed bolster Rigathi Mount, Kenya grip.
Allah?
Well, these are stories, man. It's been written here. Whether that happens tomorrow is a different matter. Today, that is the headline. Key ODM luminaries have been appointed to key ministries in Kenya. Kwanza, right? The picture of the president as he joins women's in a dance to launch the Maragua Education Endowment Fund in Murang'a County in June. Now, this guy's got moves, man. I'm looking at this picture. Huh?
Who do you see there?
Yes, I'm seeing DP. I see that move.
That's the president of the DP. The DP.
This DP. Right. DP, man, jig there, you know?
Ameanguka nayo. Okay, 27 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at the traffic and then see what those stories are saying.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to
Hey, baba boy. Gas imeisha, shopping imeisha. Na ujue tokens bado zinalia.
Msupa, nipe mbao na 20 minutes.
Mbao, like 20 bob. 20 minutes, kwani kuna nini? Na ujue mimi nataka kupika haki.
Jaber, kwani ujui dakika mamilini every 20 minutes. Halafu wanapea na 10 million every 20 minutes. Na hadi kuna 3 millionaires every hour.
Daka mamili virahisi. Uko na nafasi 3 ya kuwa millionaire kila hour. Usipitwe. Cheza Daka. Ushike mita yako sasa. Chagua nambari zako 4 za bahati and win up to 10 million every 20 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill 440440. Account, Spice, amount. Cheza na shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde mamilioni. Daka mita. Kuwa bingwa.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information. Good news! Good news for the soccer lovers across Kenya. Very soon your lifestyle will never be the same. Crazy memories of the lively football matches.
Happening everywhere.
Introducing the new season of the English Premier League football matches.
Another gem of a goal!
Starting on the 16th of August 2024, exclusively on SpiceFM. Catch the upscaled, heart-throbbing season's football commentaries from the ever-zealous soccer commentators and presenters. EPL, Soka Katambe. Only on SpiceFM.
All right, not much happening. Coming off of Thika Superhighway today, we'll see just a little bit of that as you get towards the Pangani underpass, and then thereafter into the CBD, you're fine. Let's look at this other side of things coming off of Westlands. Wayaki Way, coming in from Kikuyu all the way through towards Westlands itself. Not looking bad at all as you get past museums. If you're going up towards Chiromo, I think also here it's free, it's clear. Gong Road, a little bit of that traffic coming in from Junction and Naivasha Road out towards Riara Road, and then James Gishuru on the other side. For now, looks good. The Southern Bypass also looking pretty good as well. Getting towards Langata Road and then out into the city. Traffic is yet to be a thing this morning, but we're going to wait and see what happens as we go through it. Talk to us, SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So it would appear as though the Auditor General wants heads to roll. I said it would appear. Report says the government spent 14.45 billion shillings to import, get this, 2,807,806 million 20-litre jerry cans of edible oils, out of which
2.8 million jerry cans.
Yeah, 2.8 20-litre jerry cans.
Wow.
Okay. So the government spent 14.4 billion, of which only 12.05 billion was paid.
Okay.
Problem
so
there already.
They spent 14 and paid 12.
Yeah. Okay. So you
continue.
Okay. KCB gave 24 billion shillings credit to Kenya National Trading Corporation for the program. Now, Kenyans lost billions in the bungled state-backed edible oil scandal. Auditor General Nancy Gathongo has said she's now calling on investigative agencies to conclude their probe to allow for prosecution of culpable persons and entities. In her just published special audit findings on the multi-billion scandal, following a request by the National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee into the 15 billion shilling program, Gathongo lays bare how Kenya National Trading Corporation messed up, leaving Kenyans grappling with high prices of cooking oil. The report says the government spent 14.45 billion to import 2.8 million 20-litre jerry cans, out of which they only paid out 12.05. It was only 2,518,434 million jerry cans that were delivered. But 1.7 can't make this stuff up, man. Let me start again. It says 2,518,434 million jerry cans were delivered. But only 1,710,206 million were actually received.
Okay. Why are they writing million after they've written the million? These people.
Please don't be angry.
Kwani standard haina subeditor squeeze?
Iko.
Wako? Walibaki?
It's for emphasis.
Oh. Okay.
At the time of the audit, Gathongo said 603 containers carrying 807,864 jerry cans were yet to be cleared. A physical count in February found this 833,000. Okay. At that time, there was a short landing of 301 jerry cans. In February, 301 20-litre jerry cans could not be found. Now, despite an expenditure of 14 billion, the government only realized 2.4 billion from the sale of 653,174 of the jerry cans. You follow me so far? It should have been much more if they had sold what they actually brought in.
Okay.
That did not happen. The report queries how the entire process was carried out, from conceptualization to budgetary approval and financing. The provider was tasked to oversee both the clearing process and the release of stocks as provided by the initial letter of offer between the Kenya Commercial Bank and the Kenya National Trading Corporation. Given emphasis in the report is the role that KCB, which has been fingered over the matter, in which it secured a deal to provide credit to KNTC to facilitate the importation, which was part of a 100 billion shilling initiative covering various food items. So this was part of something else.
Okay.
Now, according to this special audit report by the Auditor General, there is no documentary evidence on how KCB was identified from the government-approved banks that the National Treasury had asked KNTC to pick from. The process of evaluation was not provided for audit. In her report, Gathongo says that the Board of Directors had asked its management to seek approval from the National Treasury for a 15 billion shilling credit. So the big question here is, if you had this 15 billion shilling credit for which you were supposed to purchase these edible oils, how are we only seeing in the books then that you spent 12.08?
You spent 14, you sold the oil for 12.
And you're supposed to have been selling at profits.
There's a back and forth in this story that doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of
there's a lot of back stuff that doesn't make sense.
Bottom line is the Auditor General has found very many holes in this whole story.
Yes.
From how KCB was involved in this, in giving credit, to how KNTC went ahead to procure the oil, from how the oil arrived, how it was cleared, to how the oil ended up in our kitchens, right? And there's somewhere there where abracadabra happened.
Yes.
Money went, oil did not end up in our
it did not.
kitchens.
Even the amount of oil that you said came, did it actually come? That's another question.
Now,
So,
the person who initiated this probe was John Buddy.
Yes.
Now he's in the treasury.
Is he?
See, it's good.
Eh?
It's good because one of the questions that they were asking, for example, was that how did you get a pre-approval for KCB to do this?
From the National Treasury.
From the National Treasury. See, now you're inside. So now you can tell us how that happened because you're there. That was one of the questions that was asked.
Now his role is not to ask questions. It's only to answer.
Exactly.
When only the questions that have been asked.
You know, my issue here with this story, number one, is that in as much as... So this was requested of the Auditor General's office by the Parliamentary Committee. And the report then has come out and the information has been shared that, look, we'll be able to trace and we see that this doesn't work. This has not happened. What will happen as a result of this? Although all the lines have not been, put together properly, but it's obvious that there's discrepancy here. Money has been mismanaged or misappropriated and or taken. The amounts of oil that you should have received and then been on the shelves for Kenyans to then consume was not the amount that you paid for. So already that there are many things wrong here. Now, heads should roll, people should be accountable, people should answer the question. The question is somebody actually going to make sure that happens? If it doesn't, guess what? These are letters on a piece of paper.
It'll be one of those.
It'll soon be Wednesday and we'll keep it moving.
It will be one of those. Now it's edible oil. It has been COVID billionaires. It will be one of those. It'll be fertilizer. It'll be one of those.
Yeah.
One of those. But only if citizens keep quiet.
Yeah.
If citizens don't keep quiet and they apply the pressure, then the pressure will still be there because everything on here will be exposed. People will look at this Auditor General's report. Watch at this reporting that had to be constricted into 4 columns on a paper. People will actually take it and start chambuering. Let's look at this. What is the Auditor General quoting? She's quoting documentation that she's received. Okay, what do we see? What else have we received? What else have we seen? What had the CS then said? What had KNTC said? What had Parliament been told? People can actually go and do, because we're seeing more and more Kenyans doing this, conduct their own probe into this and start exposing some of these things and the glaring gaps and questions and mentioning those who are involved. Hapo ndio kitu kubwa iko. And it will be a big one. It will be a big one. So 2 things have happened. Number 1, remember there was civil society group, human rights group that had gone to court to challenge the issuance of the Huduma, Maisha Namba.
Yes.
Maisha Namba is the new generation ID, okay? The High Court had frozen the issuance of these Maisha numbers. The human rights group Haki na Sheria had argued that there were at least 450 entities, including the police, which will have unfettered access to data collected and contained in your Maisha number. The group's lawyers argued that the government had not disclosed data sharing agreements with the 450 entities. They said Maisha number is still in the piloting stage and the government has failed to provide a data protection plan. So, court said, yes, there's a case here. So, in the meantime, can you stop issuing those Maisha thingies? Now, government said, now, if you stop us from issuing those Maisha thingies, right now, there are people at chief's offices across the country applying for IDs. The only IDs we have, Your Honor, are Maisha thingies. How many people? There are at least 10,000 Kenyans who are applying for IDs every day. Every day. So Justice Lawrence Mugambi said there's thus clear demonstration that suspending registration of Kenyans has very direct and immediate adverse consequences on a very large population of people, and the second respondent is able to track and account for such members every day. So the government is able to track and see how many people are applying. So court said, okay, you continue issuing as we continue with this case. Issues of data breaches and disclosures we can deal with as people have their IDs, because people need IDs. You need your ID to open a bank account. You need your ID to apply for help loan. You need your ID. You need your ID to go to university, to college, to TVET. You need your ID to register as a voter. You need your ID, everything. Higher. There's a story on page 7 of The Nation. There's a gentleman who was known as Mr. Moneybags. In which election was this that it was Mr. Moneybags? Was it the 2007 election, I think? Mr. Moneybags. His name is Stanley Livondo. Livondo, in February last year, he did something. he went and registered a new company. It's called DLS International. It was incorporated in Kenya on February 21st, 2023, just last year, okay? In that company, it's listed as Livondo as the majority owner of DLS International, 350 shares. Other shareholders are David Kegwongo Kanja with 300 shares, Simon Jorogen Ndongo with 300 shares, and Agnes Naini Waliaula with 50 shares. Kanja is an architect. Ndongo is a quantity surveyor. The nation is not able to tell what Agnes Naini Waliaula does, okay? However, Kanja and Ndongo said, we are not owners of that. Where? Why is nation asking all these questions? Because DLS International has gone to Zambia and has secured a very nice, lucrative contract. 2.7 billion shillings worth. Okay, you want that in dollars? $21 million worth to construct Zambia's Army and Ministry of Defense hospital. In Zambia.
Right.
Company registered in Kenya in February.
Okay.
In August, company gets contract in Zambia to construct a hospital.
Okay.
The Anti-Corruption Commission in Zambia is probing Kenya's DLS International Group Limited over claims that part of a $5.3 million, that's 608 million shilling payment to it last year for the contract was later wired back to the personal accounts of some private Zambian business owners and army officials. In addition to the alleged kickbacks to Zambian government officials, the anti-graft agency is probing how a newly registered company bagged such a huge taxpayer-funded deal despite not having any relevant experience in construction or security contracts. August 10, 2023, cash transfer by the Ministry of Defense in Lusaka was first flagged by the Financial Reporting Center in Nairobi, which asked DLS to explain the purpose of this money. The company, in its defense, said it had a contract in Zambia with the Ministry of Defense of Zambia for the supply, installation, equipping, and training of 2 hospitals and upgrading Mainasoko Medical Center in Lusaka to a UN Level 4 referral hospital at a contract cost of $21 million. Okay. So those guys, the anti-graft agency in Zambia, started investigations. They wrote to the Attorney General of Kenya asking, can we get some assistance from the EACC in Kenya? EACC in Kenya has given them some information to who? To the Anti-Corruption Authority of Zambia. Higher. Tabo Kawana, the principal secretary in Zambia's information ministry, recently led a media tour of the hospitals in Lusaka and dismissed the graft claims involving DLS. The state-owned Financial Intelligence Center in Zambia lists the payment to DLS as a case study in its 2023 Trends Report on money laundering and terror financing. It says a foreign-owned company, DL, was incorporated in February last year and opened a bank account in April last year. In June last year, company DL was awarded a contract to supply equipment by government institutions, AR. Incorporate, February.
Yeah.
Open bank account, April. June, pasa iko ndani. The total contract sum was 21 million USD. In August, the company DL received a credit of 5.6 million USD in its account from institution AR as an advance payment. Ngoja niendelee. Our ni Financial Intelligence Center of Zambia. It's state owned. This is government reporting on its own.
NIS.
This is government of Zambia. Okay. It was established that company DL had no previous work experience, but had purported to have been involved in works for the construction of a national university, when in fact not. A check with the parent ministry, M, for institution AR revealed that the procurement process used was direct bidding and that the solicitation document did not require previous work experience to be provided by company DL, which raised a red flag as company DL was recently incorporated. Ask your question, number one.
All this up and down, did they actually build the hospital?
Yes. So you can hear there was the knee. In fact, Livondo has been the face of this and even going around Zambia showing this is the work we've done. He says there is nothing. It was true I registered a company in 2023, but is it a sin?
That's why I was to ask.
What I was to deliver, I delivered 100%. I don't believe in street gossip.
also asking the same question. Because that's why I had to ask. Hospital was built, Abi. Money was paid.
Yes.
Everybody agreed that you build hospital, you pay this money. Hospital was built, Abi.
Where's the problem?
So where's the problem?
The investigation is because when money was paid in August last year to DL then paid some money back to people in Zambia, who include government and army officials.
Outsourcing.
Yes,
after the fact.
No. Wait a moment. It was the building was in Zambia, was it not?
See, there are people working in
the
Zambia.
Construction company. Did it come from Kenya to go to Zambia? Did they use Zambian?
Zambia. See, people have finished work. Then I'm
not
paying
only
you.
that. These people were Zambians. How do we know they were not legitimate shareholders in the company that was built out?
They are not. The legitimate shareholders, according to the company business registration service, are Livondo, Dongo, and Waliaula and Kanja.
No.
Are we together?
No.
Are we together?
No.
There's no company in Zambia.
There are subcontractors in every such major project.
So
do we know?
Such subcontractors are not in the military and in government.
How do we know?
That is what the investigators are finding out.
Is that everything that they have investigated?
That's what they're looking. That's why the investigation is ongoing. Wewe ulilipa hawa watu. You were paid, then you have paid these people.
So the problem is he paid people.
This guy works in DOD. This guy works in the ministry.
Was it a military hospital?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then?
Sure.
Then what?
Some people in the military had to be paid.
Why?
Engineer, consulting.
Who knows better about military things than military personnel?
And locals who were local consultants, like health consultants, cost consultants, health economic consultants, who are locals.
Why do you have to read corruption into everything? It's possible that...
Look, this is a good thing. Money leaves Zambia, comes to Kenya.
Some money goes back from Kenya to Zambia.
Where do you find such good-hearted people?
Inflows.
Here in this country, it just goes one way. It enters people's pocket, then it goes out. And as we don't even investigate where it goes.
I think these guys in Zambia should just do Livondo, and these guys in Zambia should go to Kakamega. Okay? There's a proper case study. Company is contracted by Kakamega County government.
Yes.
Company is paid by Kakamega County government.
Yes.
Company pays lawyers who are representing the governor of Kakamega County government.
Yes, a house is bought.
A house is bought.
Yes.
Okay? Company says, we lent this guy money.
They want their money back.
This governor, it was nothing about kickback. It was a loan. He came to us and said he wants a loan to buy a house. We give him a loan to buy a house. He's supposed to pay. And in fact, the company goes to court and says, can this governor, former governor, pay us our money?
Please, thank you.
Because there is no corruption here. You owe us money.
The fact that we did business with the county government of
Kakamega,
notwithstanding, and that they paid us.
Not an issue.
That is one issue we've understood. This other one
is a loan.
We lent him money. Can we not lend people money?
For goodness sake.
And he bought a house.
You can imagine the same thing.
Can he not buy a house?
We are building something in Zambia. The people who are there are the experts. After all, it is their country.
Yes.
They happen to work
in the military hospital, and there's a military guy.
Yeah.
Surely there has to be a connection.
And how do you people want me to pay them without having been paid first? Now that you've paid me, I've paid those guys.
If he had given them money before he was paid, it would have been a kickback. But they had paid. Work was finished. He paid him. That's not a kickback.
That's why I asked you, did they actually build the hospital? Or are we talking about castles
worst
in the
case
sky?
Scenario, completely. Appreciation.
Let me just bless you for the good work that you have done.
Receive the blessings.
Ni chai. Kachai tu.
Mandas.
Kununulia mtu chai yuko shida.
Gani. It's not one of these stories where somebody paid someone and they're saying, I was supposed to get a commission, and they're going to court waiting for commission. This is a nice, good fairy tale from Africa. Hospital was built. Kenya company paid. Kenya company paid consultants
in Zambia, where the hospital is.
And then we're investigating.
Do you see now, if somebody in Georgia had been paid,
that would be
no. That one no.
The place where they built the hospital, people are paid, and then you are still complaining.
Come on, Eric, look for another story, please. Because
okay, another story, and then you'll come and tell us. There's an ongoing case in Malindi about Mackenzie. Mackenzie has been charged with many other people over the death of very many other people. Now, one woman who's charged alongside the Shakahola massacre suspect leader, Paul Mackenzie, has died in prison while awaiting trial of the manslaughter case that began yesterday. The prosecution informed Mombasa's Chief Magistrate Alex Idoku that an inquest is ongoing to establish the cause of Mary Charo Mbita's death at Shimolatewa Women's Prison. Mbita was one of Mackenzie's followers and co-accused in the Shakahola massacre trial. Yeah. City, tell us.
There's a very brief story I want to tell you. You know, we've had these complaints about a broad-based government. We've heard complaints, this and that and this and that. I want to take you to 2006. There was called the Government of National Unity. That Government of National Unity, if you look at the history, did something very similar. Kanu had lost the election. Uhuru was then leader of the opposition, and there was something called Ford Kenya. No, so ODM Kenya, Ford Kenya, ODM Kenya. ODM Kenya had a bit of a problem. In 2008, a guy called Manzo took off with the registration and said this is Kalonzo's party, and Kalonzo now could stand for president because he and Raila were tiffing about it. Sawa. Okay? Then Mwai Kibaki, a man who saw far, decided that he was going to incorporate Kalonzo to be his vice president. Now, what Punde had not become Punde, 2008, this man and Dr. Julio Jambo went and accused Kalonzo. He said, you had promised you're going to nominate us as MPs. Instead, you nominated Mohammed Shakila and Mohammed Afei. They went to court. Punde had not become Punde. Let's come to 2024. What has happened? Remember, Raila didn't go and join Kenya Kwanza. 4 of his people joined Kenya Kwanza. Can you relate stories to what I'm telling you before? Hey. And yesterday we had a guest here, okay? Said, you know, this thing is against multi-party democracy, blah, blah, blah. In the Uhuru government, he also left the opposition and joined the then government. So this is a Kenyan trend. Yes, this is what Kenyans do with their politics. People move around, join the government when it suits them. When it doesn't, the other people who have then done what they did before are being undemocratic, and they're not following democratic principles.
Musical chairs promo.
Exactly. It's our turn to cry wolf. That's what I call it. Everybody cries wolf when it suits them. Now it's so-and-so's turn to cry wolf. But then, would you not say that somebody waited for their time to
cry wolf?
No, to give their friend a kick in the teeth for the 2008-2007 issue. Okay. It's called Kamapans, is it not?
It is.
Yes.
Ni mchezo tu wanacheza. Wote wanakula sinia moja. It's 7 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lesamira. Former Public Service Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has said the new cabinet secretaries may not perform because of bureaucracy in the public service. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station last night, Kuria, who's among the CSS that President William Ruto failed to reappoint after dissolving the previous cabinet last month, said the bureaucracy in government is partly to blame for poor service delivery.
The bureaucracy in government is terrible. Let me refer again here to the work that I did in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Sometimes you go out there, investors have got options of where to take their money. They choose Kenya. You convince them, you go to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, to all the continents, to the rest of Africa, and you think, oh wow, I've backed this huge investor. Then you come back home and you try to work through the system that's supposed to make that happen. It's like some people in government who are trained on how to say no. And the default answer is no. Can we do this? No. Can we try that? No. Sometimes you wonder, is it because they don't love the country or something like that?
Meanwhile, the new cabinet secretaries have assumed office after undergoing an induction to familiarize them with the doctrine of public service, the role of the cabinet, and their individual responsibilities. Environment CS Aden Duale officially took over from his predecessor Soipan Tuya, who moved to the defense docket. He pledged to tackle climate change.
Climate change is not merely an environmental issue, but it is the most serious challenge that humanity faces today. Its impacts are profound, it's far-reaching, and it's deeply personal to all of us. Here in Kenya, we have experienced harsh realities of the climate change. You have seen the prolonged droughts of the past 2 years, followed by the very destructive floods, which brought very devastating losses of lives and livelihood. So our climate change are both severe and are very urgent.
On her part, Tuya exuded confidence in Duale's leadership.
It's been a wonderful team. to work with, and I am very confident. I have worked with my brother Aden Duale in various capacities, and I can assure the team in environment, climate change and forestry that as I exit this space, you are in extremely good hands.
The new financiers, John Badi, also took over from his predecessor, Njuguna Ndungu. Badi said he was ready to face the challenges in the ministry occasioned by the scrapping of the Finance Bill 2024.
For the first time in the history of this country, we are going to operate without a Finance Act passed in that financial year. We should have had a Finance Act 2024, which we are all aware was defeated. Now that has come with challenges, but above all, even the Finance Act of 2023 is facing turbulence. So ordinarily, we are going back to revenue of 2022. It's a serious challenge for us, but we'll see how to navigate.
The Kenya Aviation Workers Union has said it will call a strike from next Monday over a proposed deal with an Indian company to develop the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, or JKIA. The union, which represents airport workers, said the proposed agreement announced last month with Adani Airport Holdings would lead to job losses and bring in non-Kenyan workers. It called on the government to scrap what it referred to as the unlawful intended sale of the JKIA to Adani Airport Holdings in a 7-day strike notice issued on Monday. The government has said the airport is not for sale and that no decision has been made on whether to proceed with what it called a proposed public-private partnership to upgrade the airport. One person has died as fierce wildfires spread in the suburbs of Athens in Greece on Monday. The body, believed to be that of a woman, was found inside a shop in the town of Virilisia, northern Athens, a source from the fire service told the BBC. Thousands of people have been evacuated after firefighters warned that homes, businesses and schools were under threat, with fires expected to continue into Tuesday. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Few minutes after 7 o'clock, let's see what traffic is doing in the city. Looks like it's not going to be too crazy of a Tuesday. On the Thika Superhighway, we've got traffic coming in through that junction from the Allsop stage out towards the Pangani underpass, the junction with Wangari Maathai. That is building up. Landis Road then towards Kamkunji at the roundabout is also pretty busy right about now. Traffic on Gong Road. Traffic, let's still keep on this side of the city, coming off of Manyanja Road as well as Kankunta Road. On the other side of the city, Gong Road not looking too bad as you get past into the CBD. I think we'll be able to handle it for now at least. Let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour. And we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is, and thank you very much for choosing this as the way to start your day wherever you are, or even to end your day if your day is ending. Wherever you are tuned in on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on KTN News, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, on Radio Garden, wherever. Asante sana for joining us. Ndu is back. Ndu?
Yes.
Mambo namna gani?
Wasana sana.
Very good to have you here.
Thank you.
This weekend, EPL new season begins.
Yes.
Okay.
Your boys played yesterday, did they not?
Which boys?
No, they didn't.
Yeah? Which boys?
Are you talking about the same EPL?
Yeah. Which boys?
Well, some boys played over the weekend.
There are some boys who were playing over the weekend.
Yeah.
Who were Man U and Man City. That was the one that starts the season, all right?
What cup is it called again?
It's called the Community Shield.
Community Shield.
Yes. So that happened. City won. And now we are starting. As we begin, the table right now, the way it looks right now, Arsenal is the top. Arsenal is top of the table.
Really?
It's going to stay like that until the end of the season.
I thought it's a new season.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, the new season starts with all the
So you
teams
start with
listed.
with marks.
You start with the alphabetical order.
So,
are we together?
We are definitely together, Eric.
Now, from that point, from Sunday, points, until May next year, Arsenal will be top. Okay? And if you want to follow Arsenal winning the league this season,
if you want to follow Arsenal winning the league this season,
okay, just tune into SpiceFM on the days that the games are playing. All right? Because Spice and Radio Maisha and Berur FM have the rights to broadcast on radio the English Premier League. Wasikia maneno ndu? Wasikia? Yes, very good. We are together. We are very together. Our next conversation is going to be on alcohol, drugs, and substance abuse in this country. We are joined by Dr. Anthony Omerikwa. He is the CEO of the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA. Dr. Omerikwa, good morning.
Good morning to you, Latiff.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room. Are you comfortable?
I'm privileged to be here.
Very good.
Yes.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
One of the things that we'll be talking about, of course, is the effect of, substance abuse. But on the other side, we'll also be talking about the positive effect of actually getting a health checkup periodically and regularly. City says once you clock 40, do twice a year. Below 40, you can do once a year. But at least everybody, you must do a regular health checkup. Why, City?
Well, that's what the Khan University Hospital is telling you. And they're saying, look, they can make this possible. In any of their many outlets, they're saying if you cobble up the sum of 9,950 Kenya shillings, you will then be able to get a fairly comprehensive checkup. You know, that sort of checkup, those of you who know vehicles, have vehicles, you check ball joint, what we Kenyans know as shokamzoba, where they look at, in this case, they look at your eye socket, they'll be looking at your neck, looking at everything that could possibly go wrong. Okay, open your mouth, the hair, remove your tongue, that sort of thing. At the end of the day,
remove your tongue.
Yes, stick it out so that
you.
people can see. They
Much
look,
better.
touch inside your throat. Okay, throat seems okay. Now, that checkup will do something for you. It'll give you a clear indication of what your health status is. If something isn't quite right, you will be told. Now, this is a precursor and a prevention to those moments when you say so-and-so was well and suddenly they collapse. That suddenly means there was something resident in you building, boiling, you didn't know about it, and then it bursted the banks and it came out and manifested. You, hospital, HDU, ICU. That can be avoided. A stitch in time saves 9.
Indeed.
Yeah, so if you go for that checkup, all you're doing is giving yourself a breather so that you can tackle something that may be wrong early. When it's tackled early, it will be taken care of and you will be well.
Very good. Very good. 9,950.
Kenya shillings. If you don't have it all at once, save it in bits and then go.
Okay. So, Daktari, CT will also give you the day's proverb. Every week, he goes to an African country, brings proverbs from that country.
Yes.
The last 3 weeks, this being the third, he has been in landlocked countries of Africa. We've been asking people to tell us a landlocked country in Africa. So, don't say Uganda, don't say Sudan, don't say Rwanda. Those ones have been said. Which other one?
Zambia.
Ulikuwa unafanya homework.
Alipita geography. You know when people studying geography? He passed his geography.
Very well.
Yes.
Very well.
Unlike some people who happily tell you, landlocked, South Africa, you realize, okay.
Kwisha.
Yeah, this person didn't quite do geography very well, but at least it's a country in Africa.
At least even Stanley Livondo knows Zambia is landlocked.
And he also knows they have a military hospital.
He built it after all.
Yes.
Touche.
Okay. Yes. The proverb. This is one of the richest countries on the planet in terms of natural mineral wealth and it's one of the poorest. If you're looking at poverty as the number 1 poorest, number 2 poorest, them, number 3 poorest.
In the world.
World. And they say it is one of the worst countries for young people to live in. The Human Development Index said, this country here, if you're young, you have a problem. Anyway, why don't we look at the proverb?
Or the country.
For the country.
You still haven't said the country.
The country is called Central African Republic. Most countries are called Kenya. Then you say the Republic of Kenya.
Yes.
This one, they didn't wait for you. They told you themselves. The Central African Republic. Yes. If you show off your strength, battle will find you.
If you show off your strength, battle will find you. What's your interpretation of this?
I want to look at it from the vanity perspective. Yes. If you spread yourself out there in vain, I think you'll have haters. That's my perspective.
You put it very well. Right.
Haters will follow you.
You flaunt it and see.
Flaunt and haters come.
Yes.
Haters gonna hate.
Yes.
Nice one. That's a good one. There was some interesting news item about 2-3 days ago everywhere. Let me read one from the Star. NACADA warns alcohol uptake through rectum is dangerous. The National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse has warned that the uptake of alcohol through the rectum poses health complications. CEO Anthony Omerikwa said recent media reports show alcohol enemas has allegedly been adopted by Kenyan youths. Alcohol enema, also called butt chugging or boofing, is the introduction of alcohol into the body through the rectum. In a statement, Omerikwa said the trend poses enormous health risks and called for urgent inquiry by relevant stakeholders into the trend. Compared to other methods of consumption, this route is extremely dangerous and poses a significant health risk due to very rapid absorption of alcohol into the bloodstream, he said, in contrast to traditional methods of consumption that allow the body to metabolize and regulate the intake. Alcohol enema bypasses these natural defenses. Huh?
Yes.
Ati, what is that?
I'm just surprised that we had to say that it was dangerous in the first place. I mean, one would assume that it would be from the very beginning.
What is that?
And that the fact that you have to say that this is happening, that means one of two things are happening. That there is a rise of this behavior,
yes,
and that there's ignorance to the fact that it is dangerous.
What is this behavior, first of all? I'm still stuck on that. I'm
dumbfounded.
Chugging from the other side.
You take alcohol. So how do you...
I'm completely
do you bend over? Does somebody hang you upside down? What's happening here?
Dr. What's happening?
I think this space is pretty new. And the purpose of our news item and article that we put out there is two. Number one, to diminish the sensationalization of it. If you look at when it broke out in the news and read the after comments, these young people think like it's something that is cool to do. So number one, we wanted to tell them this is not something cool. Number two, secondly and most importantly, is the danger of it. Most of these young people do it to conceal the smell of alcohol. Anecdotal evidence has shown that this has started within schools, so that they go out for a music festival and they soak it in alcohol in tampons and introduce it that way. Many people have come out to say that they've been doing it. And surprising, as far back as 2 years ago, one individual said that they started doing it in 2022, right after towards the end of COVID. And indeed, this is dangerous in so many ways. Number one, the risk of infection. Number two, you don't control the content. You know, as you imbibe, and I'm not advocating for this, but as you drink your beer other mechanics of metabolism come into play. Number one, you can take so much beer because it fills you up, and that acts as a moderating aspect of the ingestion. Number two, because of the covert way in which these people want to administer this, chances are, and if you look at the demographics of the people who are doing this, chances are they'll look for portable alcohol. And this portable alcohol, as you know, and as the government has been fighting, a big number of them is contraband and illicit. Therefore, you don't even know the content, alcohol content in them. Thirdly, and most importantly, is the fact that when you administer it that way, the effects are faster.
Okay.
And your impairment comes very fast.
Okay.
And it predisposes you to all the dangers that come with immediate inebriation. Yes.
Okay. So that was another question then, Daktari, because essentially, we're not just... I'm not saying we. People are not just doing this because it's cool, but you can actually, you get inebriated much quicker, and one would assume that it's absorbed into the system, so it hangs around much longer. The feeling of highness essentially is why this is being done.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's being done, because of the instant high. Secondly, the demographics of the people who are doing this are people who can't sit on the table and take the alcohol. And if they could do that too, there's a fear of their guardians smelling it off their breath. Yes. So it's a way of administering it without being detected, yes.
So you're saying it's children who are basically doing this. Mostly you'll find it among the younger population.
Yes.
How did it start? Is it common practice globally? I mean,
it is a global phenomena, but in other jurisdictions, they're normally events driven by the psychic and euphoria of groups when they are partying. But in Kenya here, I think we can trace it within the teenage population, and mostly those people who are in schools. In the first instance, and this is a told story about one of the users, as told by the parent, it started when they went out for these school activities. And one of the ways in which the chaperones and the teachers get to know whether these people have taken alcohol is they smell their breath. So this was an innovative way of concealing that breath of alcohol, getting a fast high, because the period of administering this alcohol through the enema is short, so that they can get a quick high out of it. Yeah.
Are there long-term effects?
There are a lot of long-term effects. And that is why I agree with you. I mean, some of these long-term effects can only be known if you check yourself into hospital to have them checked. But the biggest effect of this is it leads to addiction, number one. And you know very well addiction is a family disease. The person using who's addicted and the family who take care of the person. Secondly is the issue of impaired thinking, which gets these people to make decisions that endanger them more. Finally, and most importantly, is the danger of that immediate high. You know, for example, if you are operating machinery, it can cause accidents if you take it up that way.
How did you get to know that this was happening?
Thank you very much. As NACADA, we are present in the social spaces, and our first encounter with this was actually in social media. Then through our teams, our surveillance teams, we further probed to get to the bottom of it, and that is how we came to the realization that this thing truly exists. Yes.
Okay. So usually, like you said, it would be an event. There'll be a concert, something, and that is when it would happen. But obviously, if it's become a worry point here, then you have more folks who are doing it where? From the comfort of their homes, continuing with this, because again, if you're at that age demographic, you're not going to be comfortable with your parents, guardians, knowing that you are, ingesting alcohol. So are we seeing the practice being then taken away from events to other areas where now this continues?
Yes, I'll explain it using the continuum of addiction. How do we get addicted? We don't just wake up one day and decide, today I want to get addicted. There's the experimentation part of it. And what causes addiction is a desire to relive that moment that you encountered when you took your first drink. And the induction spaces at these events. But what happens after the event? You just want to get the same high that you got when you tried it the first time. So it moves from that party environment to the comfort of your room. Yes.
You know what is of interest is, as you're speaking, I was actually looking up something, and the thing that I came across was why the rectum is a problem. You see, the rectum and the colon are full of blood vessels. And the thing about alcohol and why it affects you, that it gets into your bloodstream.
Yes.
But when you ingest it traditionally, what happens is you give other parts of your body the opportunity to do the work they do. Like the liver breaks it down. So the effect is slowed down. But when it's injected directly into your bloodstream, it's fast. And the effects last longer and they're much, much speedier. And the damage, the mitigating circumstances that other part of your body would ordinarily have doesn't exist. But this comes to me with this question. The experimentation bit, I understand. Peer pressure and people doing something because others are doing it, I also understand. What I don't understand is that if there is a willingness to experiment with something that is absolutely unconventional, what else are our young people experimenting with? Because this drug is called alcohol. There are other drugs which are not called alcohol, and from what we read have far greater consequences. The aftermath is horrendous. The effects are almost irreversible. This landscape that we've now entered, how vast is it and how dangerous is it?
To tell you the truth is, it's very dangerous. And as the government pronounced itself to this, I think alcohol and drug abuse is a third threat to the survival of this country. Not only in its nature as alcohol, but also in its effect of what people who are using these drugs and alcohol would do, both to themselves and to the public. Your question is very pertinent, and it segues into the topic of today about synthetic drugs. Alcohol is the most abused drug, but there are other drugs that are equally being abused, and some of these drugs that are abused are available. They are licit and not illicit. And synthetic drugs are those drugs that are created to mimic the effect of actual drugs. Now, you saw a couple of years back that codeine became the drug of choice for very many youth.
Yes.
Because you could buy it over the counter.
It's a cough syrup.
It's a cough syrup, yes. So within this universe of drugs, there are a couple of things that will determine which drug gets abused. First of all, is geography. If you look at prevalence of alcohol and drug abuse, you find that the leading areas that use illicit drugs is Western Kenya. But that has a cultural component to it, because busa is normally a drink that is culturally made. Yes.
Mm.
If you go to a different part of the community, different social classes. You find that in the urban areas, the youth would prefer to use codeine because it's accessible. They'll go for portable alcohol because they can buy it and conceal it. The government has put in place a very formidable strategy to suppress the supply of drugs within the country. The known drugs, the cocaine, the heroin. And because of this, there's a high proliferation of this synthetic form of drugs. And one of the natural drugs that has become very common is cannabis that is used. Now, why do people go for these drugs? Like I said earlier, once you get inducted to it, there's that feeling that you get that you'll always want to catch up with. And in the process, you get addicted to these substances. And peer pressure is one of the key pull factors in this space. Secondly, the stress levels. And I'm not excusing that this is a solution to relieving stress, but people are pushed into this drug addiction and drug use because of life stresses. And that is why the psychosocial support is very important at the formative ages of these young people, despite the fact that some of these drugs are abused by even the older people. Yes.
Let's take a break. This conversation continues shortly. Today we are discussing the emerging threats of synthetic drug use and abuse in this country. And we're joined by the CEO of NACADA, Dr. Antonio Merikwa, to discuss this. First, we'll need to understand what are these synthetic drugs. So how are they available to people? What's the government doing to curtail their availability? And what are the effects that people should avoid using them? 29 minutes after 7, keep it here. We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information. Good news! Good news for the soccer lovers across Kenya. Very soon your lifestyle will never be the same. Crazy memories of the lively football matches.
It's happening every week.
Introducing the new season of the English Premier League football matches.
Another gem of a goal!
Starting on the 16th of August 2024, exclusively on SpiceFM. Catch the upscaled, heart-throbbing season's football commentaries from the ever-zealous soccer commentators and presenters. EPL, Soka Katambe, only on SpiceFM.
The weather with Spice FM.
Mostly cloudy in Nairobi this morning at 12. We'll see highs of 23 and highs of 24 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 16. It's 13 and cloudy in Nyeri, going to highs of 20. And we'll see highs of 22 in a partly sunny Eldoret at 14. In Kisumu, it's 23 degrees. We'll see, however, Mombasa is 23 degrees, going to highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 as well. In a partly sunny Malindi at 29. It's 19 in Kisumu, going to highs of 28, while at 17, mostly cloudy in Kakamega with highs of 28. Into Johannesburg, it's clear at 9 with highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Mogadishu at 26. Lagos is cloudy at 25 with highs of 29, while into Kinshasa at 20, we'll see highs of 30, back down to lows of 20.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
All right, we're getting into traffic hour. At this time, still seeing a lot of traffic on the Thika Superhighway. Into the CBD is also where a lot of the action is moving this morning. Ngong Road is not looking too bad, but Kangunda Road, totally different story. They're touching on Outer Ring, are going to have some traffic for a little bit. Also on Manyanja Road, you're going to cross over towards the Jogo Road without an issue, but there's traffic as you get out towards Landis at the roundabout. We're going to keep an eye on things, talk to us as well. And there it is, North Airport Road, busy with traffic. Some of that spillover going towards the Outer Ring Junction, and the Eastern Bypass also packing up. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, 27 minutes to 8. So with our younger population, the use and abuse of alcohol and all these other substances is actually shifting. Because a couple of years, when NACADA was established, it was still the bigger threat was alcohol. And then we had cigarette, bangi, and the drugs. What we know as drugs were not as much. Now we're seeing the trend is growing on the use of synthetic drugs. So what are these synthetic drugs? What are synthetic drugs?
Thank you, Latiff. I just want to allay some thought that synthetic drugs are new. And let me start with this old adage that says necessity is the mother of invention. The production, use, and distribution of synthetic drugs dates back as far back as the end of the First World War, the Great War, which became the First World War. After the First World War, very many war veterans came back with a lot of injuries. And one of the medications that was used to suppress this pain was morphine. So in the 1920s, we had a lot of what we call the morphine derivatives, which was also synthetic. As you know very well, morphine is a narcotic analgesic, which is used to to suppress very severe pain. So within that period, there was an abuse of morphine, and it morphed into very many forms. Yes. It was also very amorphous. You could find it in different forms and flavors. In the 1920s. And a lot of work was done to deal with that phenomena. Then in the 80s, we got the fentanyl. Yes, and it was commonly known as the fentanyl analogs, because within that fentanyl consumption, you could find it in very many forms. 10 years later, in 1990, we went into the space of amphetamines. You heard about the crystal meths. Then 30 years later, in 2010, 2020, we have the new psychoactive substances, call them the NPSs. Now, synthetic drugs are made from precursors. And these precursors are normally illicit drugs. Somebody creates a cocktail of codeine, something else, just to mirror the effect of drugs like cannabis. Yes. And broadly, if you look at this, synthetic drugs broadly, because of how they impact the brain receptors, I can broadly put them into categories of cathinoids and cathinoids. Yes, on how they impact the brain. But generally, if I put them within the mainstream of the different types of drugs, I can call them amphetamines, where an example is methamphetamine. We have the opioids, where fentanyl falls, and natural opioids are like heroin and cocaine. Now, why the proliferation of synthetic drugs? Number one, detection. It is very hard to detect synthetic drugs. If you look at, you've gone through these airports before, a sniffer dog will come and sniff out other drugs. Synthetic drugs, the way it is made, it is very hard to detect it. In fact, we need to retrain our dogs on how to detect synthetic drugs. Not forgetting that maybe when they're transiting through the airports, it is illicit substances, which is later mixed in a lab to create the synthetic.
Miko.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, please go ahead.
Thank you. Another thing that makes this thing very elusive is because it's not plant-based. You cannot do supply suppression at source. Today you can go to Afghanistan and scorch earth the poppy fields. For the synthetic, there's no geographical location where you can associate with the source of the synthetic drugs, like you do with cannabis. Today, if you ask somebody where cannabis is grown, they can roughly give you the geographical location. Yes. Thirdly, and most importantly, it's the risk factor that comes with synthetic drugs. And the risk factor is twofold. Number one, the calibration. Because of the mix of so many synthetic components, there's no control on the effect they will have on the receptors and the aftermath of that effect. Secondly, the dangers of other elements that are introduced to the synthetic drugs to make it not only potent and also marketable. Earlier in the year, you saw us fighting against shisha, and I don't want to go into details on that because there's a court matter on it. But it was not the shisha we were fighting. It's the stuff that introduced in those shisha, most of which was synthetic, that portends a risk. And that is why before we get to that space, we need to have standards for such products as shisha. And that's a journey we need to walk as a country.
Indeed.
Yes.
So when you talk about standardization, it's a painstaking process, isn't it? Because here you're looking at the known substances, these ones you already know, the methamphetamines and the fentanyl that we talk about, and all of these things finding their way into the country. If the ones that are here already, and that would be under some kind of legal umbrella, even for those, the standardization of those has not been done to the point whereby it would be okay. And when we talk about illicit alcohol, for example, and that's just under the guise of what is already allowed in the country, what would that process look like to then be able to say, look, class it, and now let that have a standard under which it can or cannot operate? Will it be declared illegal completely? Should it be declared illegal completely? And if you were to go into that process, how then do you ensure that it's actually off the streets? Because black markets thrive in the illegality of something. How then would that happen?
Thank you very much. That is why I'm here. This is part of advocacy. And the fight against illicit alcohol and drugs must be fought by everyone in the country, because this affects every fabric of society. If you look around, at least there's a family that has been affected by this alcohol and drug issue. Now, as a country, we are very clear on what alcohol is licit and what is illicit. Kenya Bureau of Standards has standards for all alcohol that is allowable to be consumed in the country. Unscrupulous business people have opted to bring on board illicit alcohol. Latiff, you'll be very surprised that Kenya Bureau of Standards has standards on even some of this traditional brews. It's only that people have not achieved that standard to be able to produce it commercially. Yes. There are so many risks that comes out of producing this illicit alcohol out of the standard. Yes. Yes. And one of the issues why we have standards is to control. And one vital thing is alcohol content. Yes. It must be calibrated. It must be measured.
You must know
the
volume of alcohol in this, what you're taking.
And it must be produced in a certified healthy environment.
What I wonder, no, go ahead. What I wonder, Daktari, is like you've explained to us. So, when you're talking about these synthetic drugs, it is drugs that are being manufactured somewhere in a lab. Bring some, legal drugs, come create this concoction and create a new substance that is now becomes the drug, the synthetic drug. Is this being done in Kenya, or are they coming as already manufactured synthetic drugs? Is there production of synthetic drugs in the country?
Thank you very much. Let me go by data that we have. In 2023, at the airport, we confiscated nearly 3 kilograms of methamphetamine.
Last year?
Last year, yes. And we are still in a discovery space of these synthetic drugs. Like I said, it doesn't have a face. And our detection process has even been impeded by what I call poly users. Your average partying individual in Kenya might start with codeine, take some mirror, go into alcohol, and finish with cannabis. It complicates the detection process, such that
this is in one sitting.
In one sitting, I call them poly users.
Okay.
People start with cannabis, they finish with alcohol, and in instances of overdose, it is very hard to detect what the cause of that was, and that is why we are doing a lot of advocacy to our citizens and our young people that the drug space, number one, has been proliferated by unscrupulous business people. So be sure of what you're taking.
Okay.
Even if it comes to alcohol.
So are they being manufactured here, or are they being brought into the country?
Most of the synthetic drugs are made from precursors, which are available locally. You see, and people use different precursors to come up with these synthetic drugs that are being used. Now, to give you an example, in Kenya, we've only detected 2 types of synthetic drugs, which is methamphetamine and ecstasy. Yes. It doesn't mean that it is not prevalent because of the challenges I'm telling you about detection. Yes.
So how does the NACADA do? When you say that, there is an emerging threat of these synthetic drugs, but you have challenges of detection, you have challenges of even knowing what kind of precursors have been used and so on and so forth, how does the NACADA know that there is an emerging threat?
You see, the government has adopted a 3-pronged strategy, which is it has adopted from best practice. What I'm doing here is what I call prevention. Latiff, the fact that I'm having this conversation with you, telling you that there's people use alcohol through enema, there exist synthetic drugs, is the beginning of the preventive conversation. The second part of it is a treatment part, and that is a space where we do a lot of discovery and data collection. We'll only know the after effect. If you do it very discreetly, we'll only know the after effect or whether you're using these drugs through the medical treatment space.
So do you have that capacity as NACADA to liaise with health centers, health facilities and doctors to know that there's an increasing number of people who are coming to facilities exhibiting these symptoms, and the likelihood is use of synthetic drugs?
Yes.
I mean, what I'm asking is, are you basing this on any empirical data that you have as NACADA that shows there's actually a threat hear of people, more and more people, using synthetic drugs?
Yes. We have that capacity and we do it. One of our strong points and one of our mandates is to do research. We have a rehabilitation center in Mombasa called Miritini. And in Miritini, one of the key things we do is we dispense methadone. And methadone is also a synthetic drug, but a good synthetic drug that is administered to people who've been using hard drugs over a long period of time. One of the key uses of methadone is to reduce the withdrawal syndrome and rehabilitate the system out of hard drugs. Now, we collect, I told you about poly users, and that is one of the follies of this research process. Anecdotal evidence shows us that people say they've used this drug on one time or another. For example, the statistics that we had in 2003 shows that 0.3% of respondents said that they used opioids. Yes, where this fentanyl falls in. So we have that capacity, and that is one of the things that we do. And because we've detected the presence of methamphetamine and ecstasy, we've started sensitizing people. It's only through this sensitization that people will come out and say, indeed, we are using this drug. And I can give you an example of one of the respondents whom we talked to. They say they were using something, and it had been concocted by this individual who sells it. We cannot be able to tell whether it's fentanyl. We cannot tell whether it's tramadol. But from the effects of the drugs that they exhibited, we see it's an opioid. And it's not a natural opioid. Yes, like heroin. So those are one of the indicators saying that there's synthetic drugs that are being used. Yes.
Okay. From a law enforcement angle, what's being done? Because there can be the raising of the awareness, the health matters, whereby you shouldn't be chugging anything from that direction. You shouldn't be. And then because you have to now deal with things like addiction and such. But then about the flows of these drugs into society, into communities, from a law enforcement point of view, what is being done to curtail the flow?
Yes. As NACADA, we coordinate a multi-agency team. And one of the key things that is unique to synthetic drugs is that there's no plantation. So what's the next visible thing? It's a lab. We are conducting surveillance to ensure that there are no labs proliferating around. Secondly, as a form of network disruption, we try, from a very ethical perspective, to conduct a lot of surveillance and intelligence collection to try and work backwards when we apprehend some of these people who are selling these illicit drugs, to try and make sure that we disrupt that network and identify where they're getting these drugs from. We've had a lot of success in the space of cannabis, a lot of success in the other hard drugs like cocaine and heroin, including illicit alcohol.
Do you work with other law enforcement agencies? If we're talking about, the police, for example, because we know for a fact, they can trace a guy in less than 3 hours who was, living on the top of a tree in the middle of wherever. Is it they can find the people who do this? So do you work with them?
Yes, they can find, and they do find. Just the other day, we apprehended Mama Ongara, one of our efforts within the space. As NACADA, we have the demand reduction side, which looks at programs, education, advocacy, like I'm attempting to do today. We also have a component of research, where we try to understand the trends within the market. Thirdly, we also have a very strong compliance team, that does demand supply reduction. And in that team, it is comprised of officers from NACADA, a very elite team from anti-narcotics unit with all the capabilities of, just to use your expression, getting that someone on the tree. And we're making a lot of headways in supply suppression. And that is why you see there's a reduction in the traditional drugs. And I started by talking about this adage that says, necessity is the mother of invention. You know, every time we find a way of suppressing supply on the natural opioids, these people go back and become very innovative on the space of synthetic drugs.
There's, what you say makes sense, and the efforts which are being made by law enforcement, the need to suppress it, they are laudable. But there's a problem here. And I don't think the supply causes it. The demand. What makes the demand possible? Is it that we are very many people now, and we are better informed now, and we know of the multiplicity of what is available? But then why do we need to tickle our brains? Because drugs do just that. They go to the part of your brain that makes you happy. And when you get addicted to that happiness, what we call a high, then these are the problems come in. Why do people suddenly, why is there this great need to be high? You said you have a research component.
Yes.
Because if people don't need to get high, then we don't have a drug problem. We just have people using drugs every once in a while, but we have a problem. Why do people need to get high? What are we running away from?
I'll answer that in two parts. And let me focus for now on the youth. First of all, the sensationalization of drugs is something that has happened for the past 1 century. Yes? It is cool to do drugs. Yes? And the starting point is the first experience. Some people take drugs for the first time out of peer pressure, out of experimenting, and they don't like it. So they don't continue using it. But there are those who get this experience that they'll always yearn to get. And that is what causes addiction. Now, one of the approaches we're using for demand reduction is through advocacy and education to implore upon people to go for rehabilitation. Secondly, psychosocial support. Thirdly, we educate you on the adverse effects of using these drugs. That is the only way we can reduce the demand. Yes.
Can I push a little bit more on that question that CT asked? Because it seems as though there is something that's going to make folks go towards these drugs and to continue in the practice of imbibing. Why? If the research goes to say people are drinking a little bit more because they don't have an adequate source of employment, for example. People are drinking a little bit more because there's a mental health challenge here or there. And it goes across board. Young people, older people. There must be a trigger somewhere that leads to this and then also leads to this coping. Because most times people will use drugs as a coping mechanism. There's an underlying issue that perhaps if that was dealt with, it would make the work on this side easier.
Thank you very much. Social spaces have contributed to this. Push and pulls from celebrities have contributed to this. Let me give you a perfect example of one of the surveillance outcomes that took place a month ago. There are these generational activities that are taking place a month ago.
Generational activities.
Yes.
Wow.
Nice one.
And one of those activities culminated into a concert.
Yes.
At the heart of the city of Nairobi. My team was conducting surveillance from supply suppression research perspective. And in the process, we were able to interact with some of these young people. Latiff, let me tell you, out of the 21 young people who were casually talked to 16 smoked bang for the first time during these activities. Yes, and half of them said they did it because they were told it will diminish the effect of tear gas. Now, if the feeling they got was that feeling that tickles the dopamine and the receptors in the brain, they'll keep on going back for that experience. So the induction into drugs is a key point that normally determines whether you get addicted or you get out of it. Now, there are other socio-cultural issues surrounding why people get into drugs. I'll take, for example, alcohol. In some parts of the country, you find people getting inducted into alcohol at as young an age as 8 years old. And they get inducted into alcohol not as the end, but as a means to something else. For example, this rite of passage that normally happens in a certain part of the country. During the process, the young people are inducted into alcohol. Some perpetuate that behavior from there going forward. Others are traumatized by the experience and they don't proceed. And evidence has shown when you ask somebody, why don't you take alcohol? They said, my experience when I was 12 years old and I was going through this, it reminds me of that period, a painful past. You see? So there are those socio-cultural things that push this youth towards that end, including the issue of unemployment.
Are we saying that the background, the ecosystems where young people are nurtured in, doesn't contribute significantly to this trigger that we are speaking of? Because if in a home setting, parents are undergoing stress due to the vagaries of the life we live, say in this country, will that not have a very, very direct impact on the children?
Actually, it has a direct impact on the children. The environment, not only the environment, but also genetic predisposition. There's a genetic component into alcohol and drug addiction. Yes. And that is why one of the key preventive measures is that psychosocial support. And I talked about the youth because I purposely left out the parents. They need to lead by example. What the youth see parents doing, they do. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Americo, thank you very much for joining us today. I think, like you said, there is need to have these constant conversations, exploring the various ways in which we need to deal with this issue because it is an issue in the country. Dr. Anthony Americo is the CEO of NACADA. We've been talking about the emerging threats of synthetic drug use in the country. 8 a.m. news time.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto will fire at least 15 principal secretaries as he trims down his government in line with his austerity measures. The move comes after the cabinet met at State House on Monday at an event attended by principal secretaries to get to know each other. Sources say the president wants to reduce their number from the current 51 to less than 36. President William Ruto has continued to defend his decision to include ODM leaders in his cabinet, even as the Azimio coalition crumbles as a result. Speaking in Nyeri on Monday, President Ruto said he did it to unite the country and dismissed claims he's formed a coalition with the ODM party.
Hatuja kubaliana ya kwamba chama ya ODM ama tumetengeneza coalition. Hapana. Tumekubaliana ya kwamba tutafanya kazi pamoja. Ile kazi ambayo itafaidi wa Kenya wote. Si namna hiyo? Kwa hivyo msikuwe na wasiwasi. Sisi tutashirikiana. Kazi yangu ya muhimu ni kuhakikisha kwamba tunaunganisha Kenya iwe moja. Mnasema tuunganishe Kenya iwe moja, sio? Si ndio? Na mimi nataka nishukuru wale wote ambao wamekubali tufanye kazi pamoja kwa minajili ya kusukuma maendeleo ya Kenya mbele. Inafika mahali ambapo ya muhimu sio faida ya kiongozi ama sio faida ya chama, ya muhimu ni faida ya Wakenya.
At the same time, Kisii Governor Simba Arati called on residents of the larger Gusii region to support the president.
Wewe ukiwa UDA na sisi wana ODM, sisi hatujaingia kwa serikali, lakini tumepea watu wetu wafanye we na kazi. Let us strengthen the democracy. ODM, unajua ulikuwa katika ODM na ninaona hapo UDA kuna shida. Wewe ukifika mbele ukipata ni mbaya, mimi kama deputy party leader wa ODM na ukaribisha kuja tuongee.
But the president's so-called broad-based government has diminished the Azimio coalition, having prompted an exodus of parties. The DAP Kenya party, led by Eugene Wamalwa, is the latest to announce its exit.
I know Martha Karua has been here. She has already given her notice as NAC Kenya of quitting Azimio. Peter Munye is here. He was here. He has also given notice. Very soon, Eugene Wamalwa and DAP will give notice. But these are matters that we are now addressing as Azimio. We have lost direction. And we have sinned against the people of Kenya and fallen short of the glory.
As new cabinet secretaries assume their roles, former Public Service CS Moses Kuria has said they may not perform because of bureaucracy in the public service. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station last night, Kuria, who's among the CSS that President William Ruto failed to reappoint after dissolving the previous cabinet last month, blamed poor service delivery to bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy in government is terrible. Let me refer again here to the work that I did in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Sometimes you go out there, investors have got options of where to take their money. They choose Kenya. You convince them, you go to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, to all the continents, to the rest of Africa, and you think, oh wow, I bagged this huge investor. Then you come back home and you try to work through the system that's supposed to make that happen. It's like some people in government who are trained on how to say no. The default answer is no. Can we do this? No. Can we try that? No. Sometimes you wonder, is it because they don't love the country or something like that?
Kuria further said he experienced sabotage from junior public servants.
You depend on the whole bureaucracy. I am telling you, right away from clerks all the way to accounting officers. Sometimes you're sabotaged by the same accounting officers. Just from there, directors, all the people down there, people take their sweet time. They start with the answer, no, then they start drafting the reasons. Yeah, I am really appealing to public servants. If you don't change the way you are doing things, even this cabinet will not succeed.
A global coalition of scientists and conservationists have presented the Tanzanian government with a petition signed by over 500,000 people calling for an end to the trophy hunting of elephants along the country's border with Kenya. The petition, which had been gathering signatures since March, was delivered to the Tanzanian High Commission in Nairobi and State House, Tanzania on Monday. The petition underscores the significant ecological and economic value of the Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population, which represents a unique genetic reservoir that transcends national borders. It comes in response to a controversial move by Tanzanian authorities to issue hunting permits for super tuskers within the greater Amboseli West Kilimanjaro elephant population. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
All right, this morning, there's traffic on the Eastern Bypass. It's getting into the city this morning, and it's going to be busy for a while. There's also traffic going towards Outer Ring, and we'll watch that for a minute and see how that develops as we get well into traffic hour. Coming off of Kangunda Road and touching on Outer Ring, also traffic here. The Thika Superhighway has traffic then through towards Survey and then out to the Pangani Underpass, and some on Kiambu Road also continuing. Very, very busy on Raila Odinga Way. There's traffic coming off of Langata Road, getting towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, and some of that spills over towards Lusaka Road. Landi is out towards Kamkunji, very busy. Ngong Road out towards the CBD is also busy as well. Limuru Road is going to be busy for a beat. Watch out for this as we continue through the morning. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 8 minutes after 8. How are you doing? Thank you for keeping it locked. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation on all platforms from Nairobi to all countries and all parts of the world. Our next conversation is going to be back on politics, on what we are seeing. So the president, according to the story that we're seeing here, is president back on car sunroofs, dishing goodies. Okay. And then he was there, in Kisii and Nyamira yesterday, and he's talking about, no, don't worry, your DM is not in government. We are just building a government of all-encompassing, all-inclusive, broad-based, and everything.
Broad and very based.
Yeah, it is broad-based. Our guest is the Member of Parliament for Yatta constituency, Robert Basil. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. We've been told to stop calling you people Mheshimiwa. Good morning, mfanyikazi.
Yes, we are people servants.
Good morning, Mtumishi.
Mtumishi, yes, Mtumishi is the word. Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
It's a hot seat of the Situation Room. Good to have you back here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, couple of messages before we get into the conversation. CT will come with the proverb. But before CT comes with the proverb, Ndu will tell you why the Aga Khan University Hospital is telling you with 9,950 shillings, you'll be sorted. In what, Ndu?
Everything, basically, that you're looking for. So a checkup. How about a checkup where you go to make sure that, you know what, everything is intact? It doesn't really matter at this point, because all that we see in society, whether you're younger, older, a checkup basically gives you the blueprint into what exactly is going on, right? So with that 9,950 shillings, check up through the year, making sure that everything is intact, do the necessary tests that you need to do, any medication that you need. Just because you paid that one amount, you can get all of these things. Getting them on board, you can do it for yourself, do it for your family members, everybody. Make sure everybody's in good health. Aga Khan University Hospital believes health first, as close to you as you can get it, and you can actually get that done for that price through the year. Get your health intact, in check.
Sounds good.
It's very important.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. City. Give Mtumishi the day's proverb.
Yes.
People servants.
All right. Dear Mtumishi, the proverbs for today come from the Central African Republic. You know how often we say the Republic of Kenya, the Republic of Uganda, but ordinarily, anecdotally, we say Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. Central African Republic are not waiting for you to decide for them. They are called Central African Republic. Ujue kabisa. Okay? Now, the proverb of the day. If you show your strength, battle will find you.
If you show your strength, battle will find you.
It will.
What's your interpretation of this one,
It
Robert?
means you don't tell your people your plans. In other words, keep your secrets to yourself. Otherwise, if you tell people before, then someone will come up with a strategy to counter your plans.
Keep all your cards close to your chest.
Very, very close to the chest. Kama vest. Iko tu hapo tu.
Wasijue your next moves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, do you think that's what's happening in our politics?
Well, for now, Kenyan police are so dynamic. No one knew that Raila will be the savior of Ruto government. But apparently, that is the case. That's the truth we have today. Where Raila has moved to government, ODM is part of government now, and now we are back to the drawing board as Azimio.
Yeah, Robert.
Yes.
ODM has released numerous statements saying, no, we are not in this crumbling government.
No, but you see...
And we shall not enter into this crumbling government. Individuals may have gone. Those individuals may have been our topmost leaders in the party, but the party has not.
Does it need a genius to tell you that there was a negotiation? There's no way the top leaders from ODM would be given the most precious slots in government if there wasn't Raila's hand to it. And that's why we say, as much as they want to be both in government and in opposition, the truth is they've already left the government.
Were they given education and health? Because in my mind, those are the most precious ministries.
If you talk of treasury, where the money is, and then you move to energy, and then you move to mining, those are very precious.
The two ministers I mentioned, the ones which touch most lives.
Which ones?
Health and education.
Touching lives is one thing.
It depends.
Touching money is what matters. So, is Azimio then in opposition or in government?
Is Azimio in existence?
We talk of, if you talk of Azimio, the Azimio we have now, the leader is His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. And that is the Azimio which is with the Kenyans. When you talk of ODM, which was a member of the coalition, as much as they insist they are part of us, of course, not all ODM members have left. There are those who think, who still are with the Kenyans, and those are the few who are still holding on. But when you talk of the top leaders from ODM, these have already joined the government. And that's why we say Azimio now is not about just the parties, but the citizens. The Kenyans who feel they've been betrayed, Kenyans who feel the frustrations, Kenyans who want good governance, those are the Kenyans with Azimio. And if you talk of opposition now, it is the citizens. You saw Gen Z is going to parliament and even, agitating and making those very prolonged protests. That is to indicate you or to tell you the opposition is not just Azimio, but the Kenyans now.
So the opposition is the Gen Z. So what is Azimio?
Azimio...
It's not in government. It's not opposition. What is Azimio?
The Azimio parties or the people, as I've said, Azimio now is in principle, now the outfit, where now we talk of the main parties, with Wiper being the lead in the coalition Jubilee. And then now the citizens with us, because it's not just having a political outfit, but having a party or a coalition that resonates with the needs and the realities of citizens.
Okay.
We talk of Gen Zs, they are complaint of unemployment, opulence in government, corruption in government. Those are the agitations.
Those are the issues that we're raising.
Yeah.
And even that led to the dissolution of cabinet and the formation of a new cabinet.
Yes.
And the nominees went through a parliamentary vetting process. And the leader of Wiper, who you're now saying is the leader of Azimio, the last man standing, Kalonzo Musyoka, had asked the leaders of Wiper in parliament to vote no.
But there was no vote.
Okay. Are there members of Wiper who sat in the Committee on Appointments of the National Assembly?
Two.
Yes. How did they vote?
You see, when you look at the Committee on Appointments, there was no voting there. It was about scrutinizing the candidates. It's like when you go for any interview, you ask, what is your name? What is your motivation for this position? What new value are you bringing on board? But as I said, initially...
So the report that that committee presented to Parliament was unanimous. Approve 19, reject 1.
Yes.
So the Wiper members were part of the unanimous decision of the committee to approve the 19.
Yes.
This goes against what Kalonzo had asked them to do.
What you can look at in that particular, in the vetting report is about the signature. I don't know whether they signed the report, because when they tabled in Parliament, normally in terms of those who signed, that was not brought to our attention. But what I can tell you for sure is the position in terms of many of us, including myself, And I said it initially, this was more of a flawed process, a rubber stamping exercise. Because how do you expect, for example, a member of parliament to vet a fellow body, a fellow member of parliament who are all sitting together? That was, as much as the constitution says so, I think it was more of a rubber stamping exercise. And myself, I also, although I was not given a chance to contribute on the floor because it was a bit skewed, they were only selecting members who they think were not or were more supporting the whole process. You saw it very clear, ESCC writing to the committee, telling them someone, for example, Oparanya in this case, he was not supposed to even have appeared onto the panel because ESCC said we have reservation to that particular nominee. But what happened? They allowed the gentleman and it was cleared through, you know?
Yes.
Myself as a member of parliament, before you are allowed to vie for position, there are minimum requirements. One of it is ESCC certificate, clearance from ESCC. Number 2 is HELB certificate, meaning you have no outstanding debt with the government. But here you have someone who has been appointed and ESCC says clearly, categorically, don't clear that particular individual. But they all turned a deaf ear to the whole, to the request from ESCC. When in principle, we should be in the front line to safeguard Chapter 6 of the Constitution and ensure we fight graft.
Mtumishi Basil, the senior most Wiper member in the National Assembly is the deputy minority leader.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He sits and was sitting in that committee on appointments.
Yes.
He sat throughout.
Yes.
He even asked questions to those members that you're saying should not even have appeared. That tells you that Wiper was okay with the process.
No, I don't think you can use that.
The senior most Wiper leader in Parliament sitting in that committee and participating in the process tells you that Wiper has rubber stamped the process.
What I would tell you, and I don't think is right to say that the senior most Wiper member of parliament sanitize the process. What I would say, in principle, him as individual, I think he only abided by the doctrines of the appointing committee. And that is where basically as a team member, you are supposed to, to participate in the process. But if I was him, I would have withdrawn my participation in the committee. So let me not speak for Honorable Robert Boy in that matter. But personally, based on my conscience, I don't think I would have sat in that committee knowing very sure, for example, ESCC wrote it very clearly and they said this particular person should not be allowed even to participate, even to appear to the panel. So for those who participated, I think they did it based on their own volition. But let me not speak for them.
So it's the same thing. For those who have joined government, ODM tells us, they did it on their own volition. Wiper is now telling us, for those that participated in this, what they now call flawed process of vetting, were doing it on their own volition.
But they did not participate.
Same language.
They did not participate in the appointing committee as Wiper nominees. They participated as members of parliament appointed to the vetting committee. For example, when I participate in the youth committee where I sit, I don't sit there to represent the interests of my party. I sit there to represent, one, the interests of citizens, that's the Kenyan citizens, and also to play my role as a people's representative in the August House.
I'm sorry, but there's a principle. You go in there on a certain principle, and that's the principle that brings you here as members of Wiper. When members of Wiper sat and said, you know what, we are not going to sanction this nonsense that we're seeing going on, and the party leader of Wiper says, in fact, my advice to my members who are in that parliament is
to vote no.
Vote no.
And you know what should have happened?
The leader of the troops of Wiper is the Honorable Robert Boy, the minority leader, deputy minority leader in the House.
Yes.
He goes and sits in the committee throughout. When a committee report comes out, it's unanimous, which means that he was okay with it.
Let me first.
So it means Wiper was just telling us.
Let me first make
publicly.
a clarity.
Wiper is telling us one thing, but in reality, Wiper is doing the exact opposite.
Let me clarify something. When our party leader said we vote no, he meant in a situation where there is division in parliament. Division is where we object, and that's where when you have numbers. So when you have numbers and you go to the voting process, like we did for the finance bill, in such a case, the Wiper leader, our leader, said we vote no. But there was no moment for such to happen. So sitting in the voting process is completely different from the voting itself, because voting is generated when there is division in parliament. And when that division occurs, as members, that is the point at which you cast your vote in respect either to, for example, if the party position is we vote no based on certain reasons, then in such a case you do so. Or you vote based on your own personal reservations. Okay. For example, in the finance bill, most of us we voted based on how we feel, and also looking at the clauses in the bill and what our electorates wanted to see done, because you have to represent them. Remember, we are representing the people, not necessarily the party.
I will cede the ground shortly, but I'll cede with this. Voting is not only when there is division.
Yes.
Even an acclamation is a vote. Even the preparation and presentation of a committee report to the House is a vote.
But the vote...
Because if a member objects to what the committee, the report is saying, the member can declare that I object. I dissented to what the majority have said in this report.
Yes.
There has been no dissent. There was acclamation. A couple of voices were heard saying, no.
You know,
I see it.
If you talk of the acclamation, that one I tend to disagree, because sometimes, you know, when you listen to the Speaker of Parliament, sometimes the nays and those who are saying the highs and all that, you may not very well make a clear distinction in terms of the voices who are the majority. Sometimes because the Speaker, as much as he's supposed to be impartial, he tends to lean towards the majority party, and that is the government, the UDA party. In this case, the vote which the party leader meant was a vote whereby there is division in parliament, and we are all called to make our vote, either yes vote or no vote. That moment did not happen. In this case, when you say like in the committee, if you have a dissenting voice or you have a reservation, you are not supposed to append your signature to the report. In this case, I cannot defend them, neither support them, because I don't know whether they appended their signature or they did not. As I've stated clearly, the report which was tabled in Parliament, we did not have a chance to look at how many of the members ascended to the report. And we presume maybe Honorable Mbui and Honorable Mule did not assent to that. But let me not speak on their behalf. But what I would tell you, the cabinet slots for some, for example, those with the EACC outstanding cases, should not have been cleared.
Okay.
That is my position. Because we are talking of a country where we are supposed to uphold the Constitution. And the Chapter 6 of the Constitution is very clear on integrity issues. So if you have an outstanding case in court, and even the body authorized to defend or to ensure issues of graft are well fought and tackled in this country, says clearly, don't clear this person, then we should have respected that. There are so many, if it's about balance in terms of numbers, ethnic balancing, there are so many lawyers who could have been appointed and who could have fit into that position. So why would we just get or appoint people who have issues or who have questionable integrity issues? So that is the position. That's what exactly many Kenyans are asking themselves.
Can we look
do
at
we have a shortage of professionals or experts who can do the job? The answer is no.
It's no.
Yeah.
Let's look at Azimio as a coalition.
Yes.
And the parties that are left, we know that, not Kenya wanted to withdraw, or rather actually did withdraw its membership in Azimio. ODM says it's still a member of Azimio. Wiper is obviously there and a few others here. What does that mean for the stature of the coalition? Because, call it what you want to call it, but ODM is part of government now. Can you straddle both sides? ODM part of government, ODM part of the coalition? What exactly is happening with the coalition? And is it really firmly in a place of opposition today?
What ODM are doing by spreading their wings, one in government, the other one in opposition, is a watermelon kind of character.
It's interesting that you choose that fruit, but okay. You could have said avocado, but it's fine. Right. Especially as your party leader is anyway.
We know the proponent of watermelon, the person who came up with the name.
Yes.
And it exactly depicts
the
kind of character he has. When they want to be one side in government, the other side in opposition, in principle, it means they are extremely undecisive. Because you need to be decisive, you need to make a choice. Either you are with the Kenyans or you are with the Kenya Kwanza government.
Oh, this is interesting that you say that, because what you're saying now is Azimio is either you're with Kenyans or you're with government. So there's a split. That's what you're saying. And Azimio is on the side of people.
Now what is happening, they are pretending to be with the citizens at the same time to be with the government. And you can't have both. You have to choose one. And that's why I say that.
But they already have both.
Currently they have.
You're saying they can't have both, and that's exactly what they have.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How do you expect ODM, who claim to be in opposition, to meaningfully deal or oppose issues or even correct government on matters that are pertinent to Kenyans? The answer is no. Because remember Opiyo Wandayi now, who used to be a very strong opposition leader. Remember, he was a minority leader. Today is the Minister for Energy. How do you expect the Azimio, ODM for that matter, to meaningfully even question their former and their current colleague? Because he has not departed from the party. He says he has, but in principle, that's more superficial departure. But the interior, if you look at the DNA, is it still an ODM member?
If I were to answer
and it's being proposed to the ODM?
I would say if within the ODM, unless this is a charade that we're being entertained with,
yes,
the governor of Siaya, who is a member of the ODM, has been absolutely critical of what ODM has done. And he has spoken and spoken and spoken. Now, I actually do not see what the big issue is about. I honestly don't. Because in an early hour when you look in the newspapers, I mentioned it. This is part of the political culture that you, politicians, have forced down our throats as Kenyans. It didn't start with this parliament. 1997, 1998, and if you look at all the activities that took place then, this is just a modern day replication of it. When you talk about the government of national unity, that's what we called it then, in 2006. Now we're calling it a broad-based government. Same thing. If you look at the details, there's really not much of a difference.
Let me tell you.
If you talk about people who have a record that should not allow them anywhere near a public office, it's not the first time we're seeing it. We've seen lists being provided by the Excellent Anti-Corruption, and the people calmly sail in and they go in and they're given appointments. We're not seeing anything that hasn't been done before. And these things, the people who are supposed to be the check and balance has always been Parliament, the Parliament that you're in. And that Parliament has failed resoundingly in being the buffer that we expect them to be. So, voila, as my colleague Ndu would say, here we are, looking at yet another turn of events where our political class are doing what they do best. And we are observing. What you're right about, you said, this time around they're not getting away with it because we have an opposition. And that movement is called the Gen Z. It's not yet a political party.
Citizens.
Yes, exactly.
Tumishi, let me ask you a question quickly. I know Eric wants to go to break, but what if What if Kalonzo Musyoka had been asked or been given an opportunity for one of these positions?
I think...
and he accepted. And he accepted.
I don't want to speak on his behalf, but what I would say categorically, people used to doubt the strength of the character of His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka. And now it's very clear, he's one of the very principled politicians we have. And why would I say so? He was already offered this position you're talking about.
And he refused, declined.
But he turned it down.
Okay.
Why did he do so? It's because Kenyans and Gen Zs, the agitation they had was not about positions. It was not about broad-based government. There was no disunity in government. What they were agitating for is, one, end to opulence, arrogance in government, state officers, issues of graft within government, and also elements to do with tribalism when it comes to delivery of services. Those were the most critical issues that meant Gen Zs and Kenyans, millennials and others, to join the protest.
Which way you're saying that you can use the word integrity with reference to political leaders in this country? Is it really possible? And I'm being broad-based here.
Let's broad-basedly take a break.
Okay, yes.
It's 27 minutes to 9. Our guest this morning is Mtumishi Robert Basil. He's a member of parliament for Yatta constituency. We are looking at what's happening in the country, the politics of the country, what's going on, the broad-based government formation, the call for greater accountability and better service from government by citizens of Kenya. These are the conversations that need to continue happening in the country.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information. Good news! Good news for the soccer lovers across Kenya. Very soon your lifestyle will never be the same. Crazy, crazy memories of the lively football matches.
Happening every week.
Introducing the new season of the English Premier League football matches.
Another gem of a goal!
Starting on the 16th of August 2024, exclusively on SpiceFM. Catch the upscaled, heart-throbbing season's football commentaries from the ever-zealous soccer commentators and presenters. EPL, Soka Katambe, only on SpiceFM.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, 14 degrees, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 24 in a sunny Nakuru at 17. It's 14 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 21 and highs of 22 in a sunny Eldoret at 16. Mombasa is sunny at 26, going to highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Malindi at 26, 21 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 29, while Kakamega will go to highs of 28 and lows of 16. Kampala is sunny at 21, highs of 28, and Dar es Salaam at 24 is sunny with highs of 29. Johannesburg is sunny at 10 degrees, highs of 22, while into Mogadishu we'll see a sunny Tuesday, currently at 28, going to highs of 30, cloudy at 15 in Addis Ababa with highs of 21 and lows of 12, while it'll be sunny in parts of Lagos at 25 currently with highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Kinshasa at 21.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
It's a busy Tuesday morning. Here and there, traffic is doing the business. Keeping an eye on what's going on the Thika Superhighway as you get towards that junction in the road between Wangari Maathai and Pangani. There will be traffic in that area for some time. Taking a quick look at James Gishuru coming towards Waiakiwe, and not so bad. Just over the drift, we'll have some traffic. That bumper-to-bumper action should come to an end. Ring Road Western's another totally different story. Very, very busy in this area. We're taking a look at Ngong Road, and getting into the city is also busy as you come into that junction from Naivasha Road. That's busy for now. Into the CBD, a lot of stuff is happening. Langata Road, touching on the stadium roundabout, as well as also then coming in from Lusaka Road. There's busyness there. Landis Road, busy as you get to the Kamkunji roundabout, and also coming off of Jogo Road, it's very, very busy here. Kangunda Road, touching on Outer Ring, the Eastern Bypass coming into this part of the city. Busy, busy, busy. Let's see what happens as we get through it. We'll talk SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, at 23 minutes to 9, our conversation with Robert Basil, the MP for Yatta constituency, continues. So as we're going to the break, you talked about, what is it that people were agitating for? They were saying, we have gotten to a point where we are done. We are done with how the government is treating its citizens. We are done with those in government are behaving. There's bad manners.
Correct.
There's open show of opulence, and they're showing it as if they are basically using taxpayers' money to enrich themselves.
Correct.
Not commensurate service delivery to the people. Not much of public participation, meaningful public participation, where citizens are involved in decision making. And people are saying, no, this is not what we want. But then it appears like those in leadership were hearing a completely different thing. Because the response, as you're saying, the response was the formation of a broad-based government was not what was asked for.
In life, there are people we call opportunists. And I think the ODM members tends to fit to that because they saw a chance. They all ran to join the government. And that is why we are saying, I don't think the whole issue is sorted. Because people think with the protests having calmed down, the whole situation has been, contained. But I would say that, for example, I give a very metaphorical kind of statement by saying that, let's say you have a hood and you don't treat the hood and you bandage the hood. Have you solved the problem? No. This hood will continue, getting worse, and eventually it might erupt to something else. That is not what Kenyans wanted to see. Kenyans want a very progressive country, a country that is reflecting to the issues of citizens, the country whereby opportunities are available to everyone. Yesterday, the crowd you saw in Kisii tells you there is high level of unemployment, because being a working day, where were all those people coming from? It tells you majority of Kenyans are either idle or they are not meaningfully engaged. And as a government, if I was head of state, I will go to the drawing board. I think through asking myself, what should I do to open opportunities for all these citizens? Because assume you are in the US and you wanted to have a conversation to your people. I don't think in a working day you would even get such a number, even a quarter of the people who we saw at Kisii. So there is a big problem that needs to be sorted or that needs to be solved. We should not assume that everything is okay. And that is the kind of assumption that the government does. Because remember, most of the youth, they are leaving college with nowhere to go. If you look at appointments, they are distributed based on who do you know or who is lobbying for you. That is not what the kind of Kenya we want to see. Look at the appointments. Some of them, for example, I would give an example in education. The former CS, after Kenyans say we don't want him, the president decided to consult him and ask him, since the Kenyans don't want you, who can you nominate? And he nominated his former running mate, who they were running for governor position at Kisii. So you'd ask yourself, should we be appointing a buddy system kind of a government, or should we be looking for people with the right qualification and experience to deliver for this country? So meritocracy doesn't seem to apply in Kenya. If I was in the position Ruto was, and in order to redeem myself and build the trust Kenyans want to see, I would even have appointed an independent consulting hiring company. We have an example like Okoh Associates, who are renowned, who could have developed TORs for each ministry and asked Kenyans across the political device to make applications and beyond ethnic foundations. When they make application, if there are millions, you subject them to a written interview. After that, you go to orals. Then, as the end of state, you are given, let's say, 3 from each category to pick from. That could have built the trust Kenya wanted to see. But if you sit down and you ask my brother, now since Kenya don't want you, do you have someone who you can nominate, who I can appoint on your behalf?
Yes.
We saw it in Linduri, when the former CS for agriculture, because the article was beyond. He was among the first to be impeached in parliament. What happened? His PA is now the CS. So do you expect the PA to do things differently from his boss? He can't do something different from his boss.
Yes. You give me hope. You actually do.
Yes.
When a leader is this idealistic, it is good. Because it means we can still talk about how things ought to be, as opposed to simply saying, this is the way we are, and we more or less give up this is the way they are. But slight problem here, though. People have ideals as the very forefront of the way they look at things when they do not have direct vested interest or direct power or position. All these leaders we talk about, President Raila, Kalonzo, have uttered the same things that you're uttering now at some point in their lives. And with the same vigor and energy, and you feel, okay, yeah, sawa. These guys got it. And we've seen all of them in positions of authority. None of them have been president except Ruto. But the president still speaks exactly the same way. But unfortunately for him is president.
He's the one to do.
Yeah, he's the one to do. It can't be somebody else. He's the one to do. And unfortunately, we do not see the things that he says he's going to do happening. And we don't see it consistently. And I don't need to interpret it. I just need to be alive and I can see it. I don't even require analysis. I just need to look. But it didn't start with him. The Uhuru government was similar. Many projects started. What was remarkable was just the sheer numbers that were incomplete. Then we get to a new government where we do something quite interesting. We are very innovative as Kenyans. We open projects that had already been completed and opened before. Okay? The very thing we said we would do, when asked, we say we're going to do more, and yet we have not done what we're supposed to do before. See, and at the end of it, what is lost in this entire conversation is that there's an entire citizenry just hoping for service delivery, and they just don't seem to get that service delivery. What they hear is words from political leadership.
What I would tell you, what we need as country, as Kenya, is patriots. I know most of Kenyans have lost hope with so many politicians, but I will tell you, not all of us are indeed politicians. Actually, the word politician is synonymous to lies. Personally, I try to dissociate myself from that. And I think it's because of the way we have been socialized. We may take years, but one day we'll get that person who says, or who acts, or who walks the talk. Not just people who speak to make other people happy, or just to tell people what they want to hear. I would give reference to Tanzania. No one knew whether Tanzania at a point in their lifetime they will get someone like Magufuli. But the guy came from nowhere and became the head of state. And within the period he was the head of state, he made a very solid and long-term impact that will be felt by generations to generations. If all of us continue to be, we remain disillusioned, we may not have the person we are looking for. So what we can do, let's remain hopeful, and one day we'll have that politician or that leader who means what he says. For now, we may struggle, but I've told you it all begins with socialization process. How you have been socialized, where you have worked before, is like a computer. Garbage in, garbage out. You don't expect to have chapati using ugali flour. You cannot have. So it all takes time. And if you look at where we are, I know many Kenyans have reached a point where they are losing hope. But I'm going to tell them enough. All is not lost. There's still room, because even the Gen Zs at some point they'll also become leaders.
Even this president we have, if we're to be honest, can actually bring about this change that we talk about, this same one.
He can if he wants.
This one?
Yes.
He actually can.
That's what I'm saying, he can. Because it doesn't need, it's only a matter of, this is what Kenyans want, and you do based on what they want. And more, and very importantly, like what I've been noticing in our country, we really don't invest in even data and use of research.
Actually we do. We do. If there's, it's just research, data, collating, documenting.
Very good, but in terms of using it, that's a totally different story.
We use it
selectively.
Can I give you an
when
example?
it suits our purpose? Yes.
Can I give you a reference? And it's something I've stated. If you listen to my speech in Parliament or my contribution, we have a fund we call Equalization Fund. But do you know how that fund is used? Instead of serving the purpose of bridging the gap between areas that have been marginalized, since 1963, the fund is not utilized in that manner. And how should we make the fund more useful? If they were relying on data, baseline data, to show the level of inequality, the disparities across the country, today that fund would make sense to Kenyans. But it is so ironical. You see some of the areas selected to benefit from the fund. Some are even, I will give an example, for example, the other time Kericho was in that list. And a place which is very much known, what you call prima facie knowledge, like a place like Marsabit, for example, was missing in the list. So you ask yourself, what parameter, what criteria was used to select beneficiaries of this fund?
It's a reflection of what some people have referred to. I personally do not like that particular term, bad manners, because you are actually euphemizing something quite terrible. But it's part of our culture. It's the same reason why you will be pronounced as guilty by a court, and our laws also state you should not hold public office, and yet you will. That is what we do in this country. But you know something? If you look at the reality of our politics, perhaps the message that the Gen Zs are telling us, and which we haven't heard quite clearly, that perhaps all these people who hold high offices or the political class should actually cease working, because they are the ones who entrench these things that we have. Every time you think there's an opportunity for change, something happened, you feel, but we're not moving, are we? Okay? So relying on them to bring about the change, that I think is a waste of time, really. I don't see. They're going to do things in the manner that suits them, in the manner that they're used to.
They're comfortable.
Yeah, it works.
Status quo works.
It works.
Right?
It works.
And that's where now the citizen then comes in and has to engineer this change.
Yes.
Because just like you said, every time you interview people who are not, and the ones who are controlling things in government, they will speak about what is best for this country. They know clearly what is best for this country.
They do.
Until they get there, and they again know what is best for this country, which is exactly opposite what they were saying before. We've seen them. The Kenya Kwanza leaders who are here now, who were being ostracized in the last 5 years of the Uhuru administration, were clear on what needs to be done. 5 years before that, when they were controlling government, they were clear, and it was completely different. Now again, clear.
So,
those ODM leaders who have now joined government, last year, when they were calling for the maandamano in the streets, they were very clear on what needed to be done.
That's why
they're now in government. You'll see the clarity.
If you listen to me carefully, and that is when I was speaking, I said, it all depends on how you have been socialized. If you look at a country like the US, some of the advanced economies, before they give you certain positions, they do background check. They ask, they go even from primary level, what kind of a person have you been over the years? Some of these characters are built over time. And that's why some people say it just to make sure they please you. But their historical background doesn't reflect on what they say. That is where we fail or we go wrong. We elect people normally without having that very holistic background check. If we did that, today we'll be having the right leaders in office. But simply because we don't do that, that's why we have the people we have. And now it has even, in the previous years, it was even worse. Why? Money factor. Money has been a key ingredient in our politics. A voter, you can't speak to a voter until you say, I'm done, I'm going home. They tell you, we normally listen with our mouth, not with our ears. And that is where the problem begins. So we have to change not our mindset alone, but our character, from the voter himself all the way to the leader. Because the voter is there, you call like you are. Instead of making a policy-based politics, is more of a money-based politics, and that's the kind of politics we have been seeing over the years. If that can stop, I'm hoping in 2027, if we can have a new change in the way we approach politics, and use policy as a measure of the persons, of the kind of leaders we want to see, then we might be on the right step to get in the right leaders and transforming our country meaningfully. But if we don't do that, then we are going to get the same crop of leaders. And that is where you have been seeing people accused of opulence, they're back to government. People with the graft issues, they're back to government. And that can only be sorted if you vet from the voter when you are electing. Don't base money as one of the key factors to engage a leader. But listen to what the leader is saying. Do some background check. Where did you go to school? After school, what did you do? Where did you work?
Because
how was your deliverables at work?
Because
for example,
if the bare minimum is met, and that's the thing, that we don't put people up to the standard of the bare minimum. Nobody's asking that you be a genius in whatever. We're saying at the very barest minimum, be able to do 1, 2, 3, have the right sense of mind, then to say that there is an entire people that you're responsible for in whatever capacity. So if we're holding folks up to the barest minimum, then there is a possibility that when they come into that position, they will actually do what they're supposed to do.
Correct.
Now, while I support the idea of an independent body for some of these things, I think what we are doing by that is that we're letting folks go scot-free. Because if we say bring in an independent body, that means essentially we're saying you as members of parliament who have been tasked with the responsibility, you've shown us that you can't, for whatever reason, that you'll be compromised, that you'll be captured, whatever it is. So we're saying bring in an independent body to do 1, 2, 3. But we are saying no, that if we hold it to the barest minimum, then that we should expect that if you're vetting somebody, that you too will hold that individual to the barest minimum. That's why we give you, what is that word they say? Ultimate power is done what? Lent. Given. What? In the Constitution.
It is delegated.
Delegated. Right? So the barest, we're not even holding to the barest minimum. At the vote, in parliament, at vetting, and we're not even saying go here. We're saying just get above the water. Right? So why is it so difficult for that bare minimum to even be seen, yet achieved, not even achieved, to even be seen and say, let's hold to that. Let's hold to that. And if we do at whatever level, MCA, Member of Parliament, Senator, Governor, even the President, to say that this is the bar, this is where it is set. Following all of these other things come to play.
The President will
but
say
we don't
that.
even see the bar.
If it's saying, it will be said. Hey, this is the bar. That, without a shadow of a doubt, it will be said. It will even be described. Mheshimiwa asked for the independence. They'll bring that independent and company associates. They'll bring. You get here in this Kenya. That independence will be one-sided. Have you remember there's a guy called Kamago? Is it Komago?
Jose Kamago.
Jose, the guy who was inside the server.
She was independent. When he got here, how independent did he become? You know, the reality that we live here is actually daunting. It's very daunting. It actually required what we saw the Gen Zs doing. Young people who don't have half measures. They're saying, we don't want it. Absolutely, take it out. Because if you leave even a bit of it, it'll corrupt whatever it is you're trying to change. Take it out. And it's a good thing they did, because we then saw the response of the political class, and all they did was retreat a little bit, regroup, okay? And then formulate what works for them well. And this is what we have, okay? Now, there are those who say we shouldn't wait to see. I am going to wait to see how the interest of the citizenry is going to be served. When you
by the cabinet or by what?
Oh no! By this new swanking government of national unity, broad-based government of national unity, whatever it is that we want to call it. I want to see. You know, I want to see it because it will instruct those of us who want change to actually understand that so long as certain individuals are still in position of authority, no change will come about.
Forget about it.
You know the problem. That's why myself, I don't think I'm as excited as I would have been if we got people, particularly people with very clear and very solid performance history. But if you look at the group we have, like more than half of those who are sent off came back.
Why being kind?
And the ODM team have joined. And if you ask yourself, and some of the remarks coming up, there's someone who said, I'm not going to say names of who said so, but someone said, even Luos are people. For the first time, we have a CS from the Luo community.
Yes.
That's a very tribal statement. And that's what is hailing this country. Because it means that person, or the expectation of such a person, is this person who has been nominated that position to serve interests of that community. When in actual sense, as a state officer, you are supposed to serve the country, not even the appointing authority.
Sure.
But with the kind of remarks coming from some individuals, they make us wonder, when will we ever shed off that tribal thinking?
We're in the same bus.
If you leave Kenya, for example, myself and you, we go to, let's say, outside Africa, they'll say we saw 2 black men. They'll never say we have seen 2 Kenyans. And they'll not even go down and say, even not simplify and say, I've seen a Kamba and maybe a Luya. They'll not say such. They'll only talk of 2 black people have been spotted somewhere. So that is the approach we need to have. Let's drop this tribal ethnic thinking.
Bro,
and I've seen it happening.
Let me just help you. We will not, okay?
Tumalizia hapo.
Haitafanyika. Na tuendelee.
Robert Basil is the Mtumishi representing the people of Yatta in the National Assembly. He's been our guest for this hour. Keep it here for more conversations at 9 a.m.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto will fire at least 15 principal secretaries as he trims down his government in line with his austerity measures. The move comes after the cabinet met at State House on Monday at an event attended by the principal secretaries to get to know each other. Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua called on the new cabinet members to serve with integrity and professionalism.
Make the people of Kenya your first and only priority, and don't allow personal issue to come in the way of your duty.
As you embark on the duty to serve the people of Kenya, you must know and appreciate the need for hard work and work ethics. You have to put a lot of work because of where we are as a nation.
Sources say the president wants to reduce the number of principal secretaries from the current 51 to less than 36. As new cabinet secretaries assume their roles, former public service CS Moses Kuria has said they may not perform because of bureaucracy in the public service. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station last night, Kuria, who's among the CS, says that President William Ruto failed to reappoint after dissolving the previous cabinet last month, blamed poor service delivery to bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy in government is terrible. Let me refer again yet to the work that I did in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Sometimes you go out there, investors have got options of where to take their money. They choose Kenya. You convince them, you go to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, to all the continents, to the rest of Africa, and you think, oh wow, I have bagged this huge investor. Then you come back home and you try to work through the system that's supposed to make that happen. It's like some people in government who are trained on how to say no. The default answer is no. Can we do this? No. Can we try that? No. Sometimes you wonder, is it because they don't have the country or something like that?
Kuria further said he experienced sabotage from junior public servants.
You depend on the whole bureaucracy, I am telling you. Right away, from clerks all the way to accounting officers. Sometimes you're sabotaged by the same accounting officers. Just from there, directors, all the people down there, people take their sweet time. They start with the answer, no, then they start drafting the reasons. Yeah, I am really appealing to public servants. If you don't change the way you are doing things, even this cabinet will not succeed.
There is an urgent need to reduce the number of county governments from the current 47 to 10 through a referendum, former long-serving Eldoret Mayor Josiah Magut has said. Speaking in Eldoret town, Magut said the number of counties posed a huge burden to taxpayers. Magut regretted that the country has continued to witness what he terms as devolved corruption in the counties, saying the lion's share of the county allocation goes to paying wage bills at the expense of grassroots development. He said it was not wise for developing nations like Kenya to embrace 47 counties, while developed countries with large populations and stable economies have few states represented by few governors. Another suspect detained alongside cult leader Paul Mackenzie has died in prison, bringing the number of suspects who've died in custody to 2. Charo Mbita died at the Shimolatewa Women's Prison, according to Assistant Director of Public Prosecution Jami Yamina, who informed Mombasa Chief Magistrate Alex Idhuku of her passing on Monday. Charo was among 40 women and 55 men connected to the Shakahola massacre, which resulted in over 429 deaths. Last year, Joseph Juma, another suspect, died at the Malindi JK prison after participating in a 10-day hunger strike. To the Russia-Ukraine war now, and Ukraine's top commander has said Kyiv's forces control 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory as they press their biggest cross-border incursion in 2.5 years of full-scale war. The commander said Ukraine continued to conduct an offensive operation in the Kursk region 7 days after it began. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia had brought war to others and now it was coming back to Russia. But Russian leader Vladimir Putin described the offensive as a major provocation and ordered Russian forces to kick the enemy out of our territory. That's the news wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
few minutes after 9 o'clock, traffic continues in the city this morning. Not too bad on the Thika Superhighway, just a smidgen of it left as you get into the CBD. Landis is busy going towards Kamkunji. And we'll see some traffic continuing on the Uhuru Highway as you come in from Langata Road. Aerodrome is actually quite busy, bumper to bumper through towards Uhuru Highway. And on the Northern Bypass, there'll be some traffic coming through towards Kiambu Road. Let's look on this other side of things where Outer Ring is busy going towards the Thika Superhighway all the way, touching on that Donholm exit, Kangundo, and then out towards the Allsop stage. That continues, so let's keep an eye on things. Ngong Road is also starting to pile up a little late in the game, but okay. Still some traffic there. Doesn't look too bad coming off of Magadi Road, but we'll watch. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3 words that you need to remember, and you keep talking about them wherever you go. Comprehensive medical checkup. Comprehensive medical checkup. Comprehensive medical checkup. And then, when you think about those words, you think about the Aga Khan University Hospital and the importance of you going for a comprehensive medical checkup periodically, at least once annually, at least twice annually, depending on how you feel. Only 9,950 is needed for you to walk into any Aga Khan University Hospital facility, wherever you are, near you, and tell them, I want a comprehensive medical checkup. They'll ask you, do you have the money? 9,950. Yes. And then I cure loose. I'm out, baby, out at 10, 1,000 bob notes. They'll give you back 50 bob. Okay? Comprehensive medical checkup. Okay?
Indeed.
It's like that. Mambo is that simple. If you go with that, you get that and you're sorted. Why is it important?
Why is it important? Because imagine driving a car and you don't even know what's going on underneath the bonnet, right? And so would you want to drive a car that you're not really sure if everything is intact, your oil, your water, your fuel, your pumps, everything? No, you wouldn't. You would want to make sure that everything is intact even as you go along. So why not do that with your body? And a yearly checkup, even as you grow, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're older, doesn't really matter, medium age. Make sure that everything under the hood is actually in tip-top shape. And that's what a comprehensive medical checkup does for you to ensure that everything is running right to give you optimum health.
Now, a couple of weeks back, on the 26th of July, to be precise, we hosted Professor Elijah Omwenga. He's the acting vice chancellor of the Open University of Kenya, and we were talking about this Open University, this big concept of actually having an Open University for strategic interests. It's a government-run facility. Its headquarters at the Konza Technology Park, a city, but you can learn through the Open University from wherever in the world. Right now, some 3,300 students are admitted here. 10,000 had signed up for courses, enrolled 1.4 thousand students. Several courses, several programs, and we said, okay, this is a completely new concept and we want to understand more about it. So come back. He's back. Professor Elijah Omwenga, Acting Vice Chancellor, the Open University of Kenya. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good to have you back.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Karibu tena. CT will obviously welcome you with the day's proverb. So he has been giving us proverbs from landlocked countries. And this week you're in?
We are in the Central African Republic. Yes. If you show off your strength, battle will find you.
If you show off your strength, battle will find you. Prof, interpret this one for us?
Oh, thank you so much for that proverb. Now, I look at it as a way of addressing both individual and collective challenges, because strength is associated with possibly success and solving challenges or problems in the society. And therefore, people will look up to you to address issues that bedevil the society. And therefore, at the Open University, if we have shown the strength that we have, we are ready to address some of the challenges in the sector and even beyond. I'm also looking at strength being an hegemonic, trait that human beings should exhibit from time to time for different purposes. We should be there for each other, and whenever that opportunity arises, we take it up. Thank you.
Okay. So this one, you're looking at it from a positive side. Other guests earlier were looking at it from the other side of, be careful, be cautious. Yours here, you're saying, show off. It's a good thing, and be ready to deal with what comes after showing off.
Not exactly. Not exactly. Because strength, it's not about showing off. It's about being recognized. And if you are looking at it from that negative perspective, certainly the challenges will be unsurmountable. And showing off doesn't mean that you go out there and talk about it, but you can exhibit that and it's recognized. But I do agree with you from the other perspective, then you will have more than you can chew. So it has to be one with respect, one that comes with a clear mind that it's solving challenges in the society. That's how I looked at it from that positive perspective. Yeah. But one doesn't have to show off. One doesn't have to go to the rooftop and talk about what you do. One doesn't have to go advertising your strength. It should be obvious, observable, and recognized from even your humility.
Doctor, surely. Why then do we have CVs? What do CVs do?
Thank you for coming to my aid. CVs. A CV is to indicate what you can do. It's not necessarily to show off, but to give a record of one's strength in order to be given an opportunity to serve. Because without one talking about what you can do, then one may not be recognized. One may only, even the Bible says, if you have some light, don't put it in the darkness. Yes, you have to give it for others to get the light and do something.
Thin line, isn't it? Between actually letting something be known, publicizing it and showing off.
Yes, and I wouldn't like to use the word showing off, but rather to look at it from a very positive perspective, like the CV you mentioned. Yes. If you're doing a good CV, you check and see who are the best CV writers online, what are the examples of good CVs, and you learn from there and create an impression. To do so, you're not showing off, but you are demonstrating what you can do.
There's a small difference, though, and you're right in that. When you're showing off, there's a phrase we use, it's in your face. You're actually being told in not very subtle terms that you are better than they are, and that it doesn't end there, that you're not as good as them.
Yes.
That is the negative element of it.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Prof, the last time you were here, you introduced us to the Open University of Kenya.
Yes.
The entire concept. And this was the government saying we want to have a university for strategic interests to revolutionize higher education in the country.
Yes.
And how it's offered. And so it was started, it was chartered last year by the Commission for University Education. and you have programs that are running. And he told us the difference between the Open University and the other brick and mortar universities basically is a number of things, which include access, which include the flexible payment terms and flexible even education terms. It includes the mode of payment, affordability, and quality of education that is offered and how it's being offered. And we're like, huh? This actually just sounds all that different. When we were finishing, you were telling us the kind of programs that you have at the Open University, both from diploma going all the way to undergrad, and some that you're doing postgraduate courses as well. So just, there are people who may not have heard all that.
Yes.
Okay? So just give a 1-minute introduction of the Open University and the distinction between Open University and the other universities that we know, public and private.
Thank you, Eric, for the question. The Open University of Kenya is founded on 5 key principles, which I mentioned last time I was here, and I like to highlight them. And those 5 principles make it a very distinctive institution from others. The first, as I mentioned, is the element of inclusivity. We are an inclusive university because we recognize prior learning, learning which has occurred since one acquired a certificate that did not meet the mark for joining a university is recognized. We use several criteria to admit students, and hence that inclusive approach. We realize that not very many people had a chance to acquire higher education early in their lives, and now a time comes when they need that opportunity. The second is the element of flexibility. The university is flexible in terms of time, place, and pace of learning. We use technology, and hence the third principle of access, to enable all that to happen. We have assembled some of the best technologies in the world to ensure that our programs, which are curated with the help of experts, are available, and have encapsulated the great minds of the professors who have developed them, and students can access them at their own pace, at their own time. And the fourth is the element of affordability. Because of the costs of running our programs that is not that high going into the future, we are an affordable university. Initially, we are being supported by the government, but over time, we'll be able to stand on our own. We charge about 1/3 of the conventional fees that most universities charge. And the fifth, we are a university that has embraced quality and equity, in the sense that we put in place all the mechanisms necessary for us to deliver quality graduates. Those are the 5 distinctive features, but then we also distinguish ourselves from the rest in terms of the methods that we are using to deliver. We are embracing problem-based learning, where students are able to gain knowledge through problems that are given to them, through discussion forums, which are online, virtual environments which have been developed, and students immerse themselves into those environments in order to learn from the knowledge that we have curated, and also from each other. And in the same vein, we are embracing new techniques of delivery, which we call the flipped classroom approach, where it is student-centered approach in terms of delivery and giving students an opportunity to excel. We are also using technology to deliver repetitive aspects which are required to enhance learning. And that's where simulation and other models have been infused into the programs that we have developed. We are using virtual laboratories and other assets to deliver. And all these things make us a very unique university because of the need to massify or massificate education, as it were.
On the issue of flexibility, when you say, it's about time, place, and pace of learning. Conventionally, semesters begin on a certain date, they end on a certain date. You have classes that are then clearly set out throughout the semester. if you miss out on some classes, it's upon you to catch up, because tunasonga. So how different is it then with the Open University of Kenya in terms of flexibility? So I for some reason, I was out of network. I had to go to work in remote places, or I was unwell, and the semester is ongoing, because I think the Open University still has open and end dates of semesters, right?
Well,
so where's the flexibility coming in?
Thank you for the question. Yes, the delivery here is asynchronous. Asynchronous means the time of learning and the time of delivery of content are not necessarily synchronized. And we have therefore packaged our programs to be available on their own. As I've said, we have curated this. We have encapsulated the lecturers or the professors into these modules or programs so that they are available for the student to access them at their own time and their own comfort. That's the first element of flexibility. The second is in terms of what we call flexible cohorting of our students. And here, the continuous process of enrollment is given that particular weight, so that students who want to come to the university don't have to wait until the so-called beginning of a semester. Mm-hmm. We enroll you, you start the process of learning, we cohort you using maybe 5 or 10 students that have come on board, and we process you continuously until the time you are ready for exams. The third element, which is the element of flexibility, is the examinations on demand. We allow students who are ready to take exams. For instance, in the first semester, or rather the first, I call it semester for purposes of engaging the public, the students who sat the exams at the end of the 15 weeks and felt that they needed to come back and resit for various reasons, we gave them an opportunity. Those who were not ready at that particular time, we also gave them an opportunity without any sanctions whatsoever. That is part of the flexibility. Examinations on demand. And in a few weeks' time, we are also going to offer another set of exams. We have developed a very rich data bank of exams where we are able to create examination papers or examination items within the period required, going through a very rigorous quality assurance mechanism. Also, lectures which, for very good reasons, must be offered at a synchronous mode, especially at the beginning of the semester. Some of the students are young who have just joined from high school, and they need to be handheld, to be supported to e-learn, to be supported to appreciate the whole concept of individualized instruction. And these young people, we give them initial lectures which are synchronous in nature. So those who have the time are welcome to join those synchronous, or rather online activities where the lecturer or the professor comes to explain the critical concepts involved in that particular program. But then those who didn't have the opportunity to come on board, they will access this content through a recorded database, and at any one moment when they're ready, they go there and access the lectures. And also the recording enables the students to have what we are looking at, repetition of the same thing, in order to enhance or reinforce the process of learning. If you're told one thing more than once, we believe from educational principles that the chances of you retaining that knowledge is higher, and therefore the recording is looking at that educational concept of repetition in order to enhance retention of the content that is being provided.
So for you as a student, essentially, are we saying at the Open University, the time is really in your hands to then be able to do what you need to do when you need to do it, because you have recorded lectures and things like that? Then you will log in, essentially, quote unquote, when you're ready. So is the time really up to you? Or are there, like Eric was saying, is there a set, you have a set semester, for example, in what I want to call conventionary way of university education? The semester starts on said date, ends on another date. There's a midterm exam, there's an end term exam, or end semester exam. Is it different from that?
Thank you for that question. Yes, for purposes of managing the university processes, which are pegged on certain beginnings and ends of various things, we have used the word semester loosely. But as I've said, yes, the students' time is in their hands and they can join at any one moment. They are ready and go through the materials at their own pace, and when they catch up, you see, it's about skills that we are offering, and measurements are done, both summative and formative evaluation. Formative evaluation is included in the process of coverage of content over that so-called semester, and then summative is at the end, where examination is given. So I want to agree with you, Madam, that we are using that concept of semester in a very loose sense, but I want, in a practical sense, students are enrolling from week to week, and we cohort them accordingly and take them through the process. So it is a very delicate balance that we are drawing here, and our lecturers must be alert whenever students come on board. Then they use that cohorting. We are using about 2 weeks. 2 weeks as a process of cohorting the students, and is working pretty well.
Every 2 weeks, if you have sufficient applicants and admissions, then you can have a cohort.
We can have a begin date. You're right. You can have a begin date.
So 1 year, you could have different first-year cohorts.
Yes.
Taking the same program.
That's right.
In the same year.
That's right.
There are those who joined on first 2 weeks of January, and those who joined on the third 2 weeks of March.
Yes.
And they're all in first year.
They are in first year.
Doing the same thing.
Yes.
Are they going to graduate on the same day?
Good question. You see, graduation is at when you have satisfied the Board of Examiners in the Senate in order for you to be awarded a degree or conferred a diploma. And that is about the modules that you've covered. And we are following every student using our technology almost individually, so that when you have finished your first module, then you proceed to the second, the third, until maybe the 11th module of a specific course. Then you're given the next modules for you to progress on. And we are also using modular approach, so that students can come and register for a few courses. You don't have to register for everything if you're not ready. And each course is organized into modules, and approximately 10 to 11 modules per course. So you proceed the next module when you have satisfied the lecturer or whoever is in charge of that particular course that you've sufficiently covered the knowledge, you have gotten the skills required, and then you can proceed on the next module. And that's one way of ensuring quality, so that students don't just run all the way until the end and they're not able to pass their own button the next set.
So how many graduations do you have in a year?
One for now.
Okay.
You see, we just began last year. We just 1 year old this month.
Is it at the end of the year, the beginning of the year?
This year, we are having the first graduation, November, towards the end of November. We're having the first graduation for the postgraduate diploma programs, because they're 1 year. Postgraduate diploma in learning design and technology, and postgraduate diploma in leadership and integrity.
But it will only be conferred to those that are finished.
Yes, only those who are good. Thank you.
There's a cohort that started at some point 2 years ago or 3 years ago that has not yet finished.
Yes.
But the people who joined in the same year are graduating.
Correct. That is the beauty of the Open University.
Meaning you decide when you want to graduate.
Exactly. And that is decided based on the pace that you're covering, the knowledge.
But surely there must be a limit. You can't do it for the next 20 years.
Yes. Yeah, open universities all over the world give that flexibility. And we say you can do a program at your own pace, and we are capping it for now about 8 semesters. 8 semesters, that's 4 loosely speaking, so that in 4 years you're able to graduate. But you multiply that by 2. So one can be within the university for 8 years doing the same program. Even after the 8 years, we still allow you to continue. That is the flexibility we are talking about. As long as you are able to inform us that you're dropping out, we call it drop out, drop in, or open the door, get out, and open the door, come in. Okay, and we are saying we are less on touch and heavy on technology.
Let's take a break. The conversation continues. Got any questions to Professor Mwenga on the Open University? You can post the comments ask the question in the comment section on YouTube or on Facebook. We are live streaming the show on YouTube, SpiceFM, and also on Facebook, SpiceFM. And we are also on X at SpiceFM KE. The conversation, of course, is also being broadcast on KTN News, on SpiceFM, and elsewhere.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start.
Hey, baba boy, gasi imeisha, shopping imeisha, na ujue tokens bado zinalia.
Msupa, nipe mbao na 20 minutes.
Mbao, like 20 bob. 20 minutes, kwani kuna nini? Na ujue mimi nataka kupika haki.
Jaber, kwani ujui dakika mamilini every 20 minutes, halafu wanapea na 10 million every 20 minutes, na hadi kuna 3 millionaires every hour.
Daka mamili virahisi. Uko na nafasi 3 ya kuwa millionaire kila hour. Usipitwe. Cheza Daka. Ushike mita yako sasa. Chagua nambari zako 4 za bahati and win up to 10 million every 20 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill 440440. Account Spice amount. Cheza na shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde mamilioni. Daka mita kuwa bingwa.
What? My head is aching, shoulders paining, and it's like I'm adding weight very fast.
Now, by the way, see, I thought you are...
Nilifikiri umefanya ile kitu. No, I know what you are thinking.
Now, when you haven't heard about Aga Khan Hospital, they have a wellness program.
Aga Khan University Hospital has made medical checkups more available through their subsidized wellness package at 9,950 for a comprehensive medical checkup. Don't wait for a health scare. Do your health check at the Aga Khan University Hospital clinics in your neighborhood today. Get your vitals checked today. Call 0111 011 888 for more information.
All right, taking a quick look at what it's looking at right now on the Eastern Bypass, traffic coming through towards North Airport Road, which is clear, incidentally, all the way through. It's going to take the loop around Cabanas and then onto Mombasa Road without a problem. Also, taking a peek at what's been happening, getting off of Landis, going towards Haile Selassie. It's pretty busy. Ngong Road is also busy, coming in and touching on Haile Selassie into the CBD this morning. As you come off of Thika Superhighway, there's traffic going towards Murang'a Road. That's going to continue for a while into the CBD as well. Kiambu Road is where most of that traffic is left this morning. As you come around that Muthaiga Square loop, that's where it's still busy right about now. Let's see what happens as we come out of traffic hour. Through the morning, talk to us, SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So yeah, the future of learning is here, and that's why we have Prophet Elijah, Professor Elijah Omwenga, the acting Vice Chancellor of...
They also call me Prophet.
They also call you Prophet Elijah.
prophet.
The Acting Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Kenya, he's here with us. As we're going to the break, he talked about less on touch, more on technology. What does that mean?
Thank you. We are saying here the individualized learning methods that we have put in place, they are automatically bringing about the less on touch concept. Touch from the perspective of the lecturer or the teacher and the student. That one-on-one engagement that happens from time to time in a classical classroom approach. Then heavy on technology, because the students must have their devices to access the programs. We are using technology to assess the process of learning. We are using technology to gauge the mastery of concepts at the end of the semester or at the end of the program coverage. We are also using technology to manage our student progress as well as quality assurance. And besides, we are using technology on various administrative aspects which are critical in managing a university. So that's what that concept means, less on touch and heavy on technology, which is really the direction that the world is moving.
Then that means that when you say heavy on technology, it means that you must be somewhere where you can access technology. If you don't have the gadgets, if you don't have access to the internet, then Open University of Kenya is not for you.
Good. That's the point, really, in the sense that we are looking at the marginalized people in our country and elsewhere where we have registered students from, and trying to enable these students to come on board. A student who has registered to do a program at the Open University has shown that interest and enthusiasm. And if the student is coming from an area where the internet availability is not so good, what are we doing to enable the student? We are engaging with the service providers. We are already in discussion with them on areas such as using low internet connectivity approaches, where these students, even if they are on 3G, they are able to access the content in a whitelisted database mode, so that you're able to log in and access the content which may have been delivered earlier and made available at different moments, not necessarily at the same time that it is available on the background. So that is whitelisting approach. That gives a lot of flexibility to the students wherever they are, so that you don't have to use your bundles for you to access certain databases which belong to the Open University. You access without any bundles being charged on you. So that's the discussion we are talking about, whitelisting. So long as you have even a 3G connection, you can access the content without using bundles. That is the real discussion.
Right.
Yeah. It's called whitelisting. Whitelisting here means the Open University database, which is hosting the programs, once it is available on the internet or on the cloud, and a student has a 3G connection or a 4G now is hegemonic in the country, and you're accessing those materials on the Open University of Kenya website, you are not charged any bundles. That is the discussion.
So the university is paying the service provider?
We are not necessarily. It is part of giving back to the society and part of give and take. If we are, for example, using the technology of this particular institution or other company, in terms of giving other services to the university at a global scale or at another scale, then what is it that we are getting from this service provider? Can you give us a whitelisting concept here implemented for our students? That is a big concept, and we are following very, very closely, and we hope we'll get somewhere. Secondly, we are engaging other institutions. We are at discussion stage, such as Kenya Education Network, to provide as EduRoam, EDROM is a widely accepted method of accessing content without necessarily looking for a service provider wherever you are that you're charged. And that discussion is also beginning. Very soon we'll take it to a level where we are signing an MOU with that institution. Third, we are engaging in re-looking at our content so that we design it for assistive purposes. Assistive here means students who are challenged in one way or another. Either they are blind or they have issues with accessing their various devices, so that as an inclusive university, we are giving the students the lease of life to access content and to access programs. That is also one of the distinctive features of the Open University. Assistive technologies which are quite heavy in terms of investment. And I'm happy to report that we are engaging with partners such as USAID and others to help us in addressing that issue of assistive technologies for the less fortunate in our society. And also what I call flexible payment methods. The issue you asked, the question you asked. How are we assisting the less fortunate in our society, or those who are not financially endowed? We are employing a flexible fee payment approach so that a student who has enrolled doesn't have to pay the full fees, which is, as I've mentioned, just 1/3 of the conventional fees that is charged. You just pay a quarter of what is due for the semester, and you start your classes. And over time, within the period of the flexible mode of study, you finish your fees. We even allow students with good reasons to sit for exams as they clear their fees. We are a very affordable, flexible and available university to the Kenyan people. So for us, flexible mode of fee payment is one area of addressing those challenges of the marginalized or the less fortunate in our society. But there's another point that we were talking about during the break with City here. How are we addressing the issue of certain programs which may not be amenable to e-learning or technology? And I want him to pose that question so that we are able to address it, if you may.
Yes, with reference to the myriad courses that are offered in an open university, and though this open university, what are some of the traditional courses that you are limited or you are hindered at the moment from actually providing? And what plans do you have to ensure that those limitations are overcome so that they can actually be provided?
Yeah, thank you. Before a program is mounted, it has to go through a quality assurance process, which includes approval by the Commission for University Education and, in some cases, accreditation from certain bodies. If you are offering an engineering course, you need to engage with the Engineering Board of Kenya. If you are offering nursing, you need to engage with the Nursing Council of Kenya to give credence to the program once it has been approved by the Commission for University Education. So if you are offering, for example, Bachelor of Education programs, you need to adhere to the guiding principles by the Teacher Service Commission, which is a regulator in that sector. And such programs, we are slowly bringing them on board, and we're beginning with nursing. Nursing is a program that has been built as needed by our country and even partners abroad. And we are engaging the various partner institutions, we call them sister institutions, to help us when we need to have students on internship or carry out the practical aspects of the course. And that, to us, is one way of enriching our capabilities as an open university and scaling up to utilize resources of other institutions, one way of co-sharing of resources. And we're looking at it very positively. effectively that idle or underutilized resources in other institutions, we are ready to use them. Is like
in other institutions?
Yes, in other institutions. And we're already in discussion. Because you will see an institution which is offering a course and they are having a break and students are not in session.
Right.
The laboratories are idle. We want to use those laboratories. It's like having internet bandwidth which is lying idle at night. And for us, we are engaging the students during that moment using that idle resource. So effective utilization of our capacities in our institutions, we are ready to utilize that. And also in another area like virtual learning approaches or virtual laboratories, which we have also invested in and continue to invest in, simulations and other technologies such as gaming, which is a way of enhancing the process of learning.
But practically, Prof.
Yes.
Let's say you're offering a program on mechanical engineering, right? That would require some practical time, for fabrication, for testing of materials. You need time in a lab, in a workshop, right? How would you be able to offer this via e-learning? Must I be in a certain area, or must I have access to a close proximity to a certain lab or a certain workshop somewhere?
Thank you for the question. The Open University of Kenya is beginning from some humble beginnings. We are not going to offer everything at the same time. We have enough already. We are dealing with a lot of courses, a lot of programs which are of interest to our students, our partners, our friends out there, including our parents. And we are not yet even scratched the surface of those programs in artificial intelligence, data science, business and economics, entrepreneurship, machine learning, all technology heavy programs, cybersecurity, which we are already offering, others planned for in November. So we are beginning there courses which do not require immediate engagement of the partners in MOUs. And that's why we're already having 1,400 students enrolled without having those other partners on board. However, just to answer your question, yes, it is true that you can offer mechanical engineering using technology very effectively, simulations and other mechanisms which are in place now. But we at the Open University will require that we get into another notch level higher, where besides those technology supported mechanisms of delivery, we also shall require students to have a practical aspect in order to enhance the skills that we are offering. And as I've already mentioned, we will be very intentional and surgical on the programs we are offering so that our quality of the graduates is not in question. If we feel that our technology or our method of delivery is not yet at a level where such courses which are practical heavy can be offered, then we don't offer them. We only offer programs that we are certain that our capabilities is assured, the quality is guaranteed, and our students will be happy and talk about the Open University as we scale through and enroll more and more students. We will not falter on that aspect of quality assurance.
So I know you touched on this before, but when we look at the concept of virtual learning, it would appear as though it's a preserve for people who are, able financially only, right? And then when we look at issues of the university funding model and what the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms did during last year, is that they now demarcated people who are able to then pay certain fees into certain categories, and that would depend on whether you then got a loan grant, whatever that may be in terms of assistance. How do these two touch on each other with the Open University when we talk about the funding model? At the same time, we're talking about if you're going to have to use technology for education, you have to have been, one would say, enhanced financially to be able to do that. So how do these two come to play at the Open University?
Thank you, Madam, for that question. On the contrary, the Open University is addressing the issue of affordability. And that is a premise on which it is chartered, a specialized university for strategic interests. And the strategic interest here is affordability, access, and inclusivity, without leaving any child or anyone who wants higher education behind. And education is not a preserve of the rich at all, especially the Open University. It is an equalizer, which, according to the Presidential Working Party, who went around collecting views, they realized that higher education was becoming unaffordable. It was becoming expensive. There was a debt of 140 billion that had not been paid based on the less money that was being remitted to universities under the differentiated unit cost. And out of those views and the wisdom of the president, the new funding model was established. This model is addressing the element of affordability, the element of equity, and also quality. And if you look at how it has been structured, the 6 bands, where band 1 is for those who are really very needy and require funding, the government gives you a scholarship of 70%, and you have a loan of 25%, with 5% being shared by the parent, which is called the household. And the band 2 gives you an opportunity to apply and get 60% of the loan and 30% or 60% of the scholarship and 30% of the loan. And band 3 is 50% of the scholarship and 30% of the loan, 20% household. And band 4 is 40% scholarship, 30% loan, and 30% household. And band 5 is 30% scholarship, 30% loan, and 40% household. I'll give an example. Bachelor of Arts, on average, universities are charging 122,400. The household, the student or the parent, is going to pay 6,120,000 Kenya shillings only per year. So per semester is about 3,000 shillings, which you're supposed to pay. The rest is given to you by the government. If it is medicine, which is another very important program that we offer at the university, is 612 on average, 612,000 on average, and the household
in the conventional
universities, and the household is paying 30,600 per year.
That's in band 5.
In band 5, and average is about therefore 15,000 shillings per semester. So quite affordable indeed here, and that is addressing the issue of affordability as per your question, madam. And the new funding model was specifically meant to ensure that access to education is not a preserve of a few, but affordable by everybody across the strata in our society. And for us, particularly the Open University, we are happy with this model because it is going to help us have more students from different backgrounds. Those who are able will pay a little bit more. Those who are not able, based on the mean testing instrument, a very accurate mechanism of gauging the students' capability. And out of that, students will be banded, and the banding will then give you an opportunity for a loan or scholarship or a household amount to pay. So in a nutshell, it's a good model that differentiates us as per who we are in the society in a very positive sense.
Question, teacher, question. How much do the conventional universities charge for a bachelor's in data science?
Yeah, thank you for that question.
And then how much does the Open University charge? Because you said it's a third.
Yes.
So,
a conventional university, most universities are charging between 300,000 to 400,000. So if I may take 300,000, we are charging 105,000, which is exactly 1/3.
Okay.
300,000 per year.
Per year. So, and with that, I can still access the university's fund scholarship.
Yes.
And Higher Education Loans Board loan.
Yes.
To access this.
Yes.
So, may end up just having to pay 2K.
Absolutely. Like the Open University students, we have, as I've said, 7 criteria of admission. The first criteria is if you have a C+, like any other student, then you're welcome to join the Open University. And here you access the loan and the scholarship directly, plus the upkeep, like any other student.
Okay.
And we have a few of these students here. Okay. And also, if you are from an environment where you're coming based on prior learning, mature students, and you have been working and we are admitting you based on that sixth criteria, you can still apply for a scholarship, and once you are assessed, you have access to that capability.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, somebody's asking the question. There are very many universities that are abroad and students are accessing them. Online learning, online university programs. You do some virtual learning, and then there's a requirement that for some time you must be there in person, right? So how different is that from the Open University?
Well, Open universities, the world over, do not necessarily require you to be residential. You can do your course or your program without visiting a physical campus for the entire period, except when you're going to graduate, if the graduation is physical, or if the Vice Chancellor finds it fit to hold yearly kamkunjis for these students, either physically or even virtually. Some of the universities, which are, like I know University of Warwick in the US, is not an open university, but it has a blended mode of instruction. So we must differentiate between fully online, blended, physical, and other modes of study. The question that you've asked, I think, is about blended mode of learning, where students are required to cover certain parts of the content off campus and cover the rest, maybe 1/3 of the year on campus. That is blended mode of instruction. We are bringing individualized learning, augmenting it with physical classroom approach. At the Open University, we are fully online and only require students to go out there during internship, where they have their touch with the environment they will be working in, or when we want them to have extra practical skills using our partner institutions that we'll be signing MOUs with.
A degree or a diploma from the Open University of Kenya is recognized by the certification authorities in Kenya.
Yes.
Is it recognized internationally?
That is the objective eventually. Right now, yes, it is. The Open University has been chartered by the Republic of Kenya under Section 24(1)(b) of the Universities Act as a specialized institution, and it is fully recognized in the world. It's an international university. In fact, we have students from 18 different countries who have enrolled. A student from, for example, Britain, where we have some, cannot enroll into this university if he or she is not assured that the university is accredited by the Commission for University Education in Kenya. I can say with certainty the Open University is accredited by the government of this republic and recognized by other institutions and other territories across the world, like any other university in this country.
Okay. So diplomas, undergraduate degrees, postgraduate degrees, masters and doctorate degrees, and postgraduate diplomas as well being offered.
Yes.
Where can one get the suite of the current courses being offered?
Very well. You go to the website ouk.ac.ke. ouk.ac.ke. You don't do anything, you just type ouk.ac.ke. That's the URL or the universal resource locator that you can use from your phone, from your device, and right there you are on the website. And all the programs are there, ranging from technology-based, business, leadership, and accountability, which is a very popular program, mathematical analytics, which is being offered as from November this year, and a range of several other programs. Latiff, let me mention that we started with 7 programs. We would have had 8, but the 8th program, Agriculture and Biosystems Technology, was shelved in order to prepare ourselves for the practical aspects that the students need. That's how serious the Open University is. even though it was approved by the Commission for University Education, we had to shelve it until we are ready with those institutions where the students will carry out their practicals. We are also having 19 new programs, which I mentioned last time, as spanning through from artificial intelligence, machine learning, computational mathematics and modeling, all of them being offered hopefully from November once they are approved by the Commission for University Education.
Prof, once again, thank you very much for joining us today. And you've shed a lot of light on this Open University. Again, that URL is?
ouk.ac.ke.
ouk.ac.ke. ouk.ac.ke. Professor Elijah Omwenga, Acting Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Kenya. He's been our guest. Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room today. You have yourselves a lovely day. See you again tomorrow. Have a good Tuesday.